All right, welcome to our June 30th, 2021 Henderson County Board of Public Education meeting. I apologize that we are running over today, but I will now call this meeting to order. Will you all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag, States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Again, my apologies. I know we've got people trickling in, filling out public comments. I'm gonna let those keep going for a while here. We'll go ahead and start with the agenda approval. I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda as presented
Second.
with, we gotta
One
say that.
exception, just to remove item G from the consent.
Yeah, with one removal, we're gonna be removing item G from the consent agenda, but I will accept your approval with that removal.
Yes.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda's approved minus that there. All right, next up is going to be our program highlight, safety around water.
Mr. Craven, thank you
Yes,
very much,
how are you?
members of the board. I am wonderful. Thank you guys very much for the opportunity to introduce a wonderful community partner here on behalf of the Hendersonville Family YMCA, Miss L.K. Patton, who is the executive director there. L.K. is here to share with us a tremendous opportunity to serve and support something that this board has talked about being an important part about our whole child education as it relates to taking care of our children and the safety around water program and the opportunity that we have to work alongside the Hendersonville Family YMCA to serve and support the children of Henderson County. And so please help me in welcoming Ms. LK. She's got a presentation and we're grateful to her today. Thanks so much for being here today, LK. Absolutely.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me. Is the video gonna work? Do you know? Okay, good. All right, just want to make sure. Okay, so I am LK Payton. I am new to Hendersonville, and I'm excited to be here. I've been with the YMCA for the last 5 years, but just the last 7 or 8 months here, right in the midst of COVID, getting ready to rebuild, regain. And part of my journey here was just to get to meet people, know people. I met with Amy Lynn Holt, Jennifer Hensley, Rebecca Mccall, just so I could learn more about our county, our community, our schools, and our brains just started going like this. They mentioned water and how important that was. And the issues in drowning. I'm like, well, I got water. Like, let's talk, you know? So we started brainstorming and talking and came up with a plan to really change the community. My heart for Hendersonville is to help to continue to build stronger and healthier communities, and keeping our kids safe is a no-brainer, right? So real quick, I want to show you this little video about just safety around water, and then I'll talk about how we're going to implement it into your school.
Saturday morning in April, the girls and I woke up and were thinking of things we could do for the day. And we received a text from my brother asking if we wanted to go to the nature center for a little hike. So we gathered up our things and went down the road, and we met him in the parking lot, and we just started a little hike. And we got to a little area that crossed the creek. It was where an old bridge had collapsed, and it was kind of filled with concrete and rebar and steel. I heard a splash, and Cassidy had fallen in, and the current pulled her underneath this bridge, and she was trapped amongst all the steel and concrete under the bridge. And it wasn't until we heard her screaming, realized that she was actually floating on her back right underneath where my feet are, and I was able to reach under and pull her out.
listening to Josh and his story with Cassidy, one of the life-saving things that Cassidy did that she learned here at the YMCA is she turned over on her back and she floated and she screamed out for help, and she was able to stay like that until Josh, her father, was able to reach her.
All right, you guys ready to go?
That speaks hand in hand with what this upgrade is all about, that it really focuses on the safety and keeping kids safe in and around the water, and really being comfortable swimming on your stomach and putting your face in the water. And it really focuses on a true progression of swimming with a sense of achievement throughout the levels.
To give each child that opportunity and to nurture their potential through youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility, Aquatics is the full package.
They stretch themselves beyond what they would normally do because they want to prove themselves to those that sit around them that are now their new friends, and they want to show me, their instructor, but more importantly, they can't wait to show mom and dad. They'll carry that with them their whole life.
The YMCA is the inventors of swim lessons, and by doing the aquatic upgrade, this is truly going to give us the opportunity to look at what we've been doing great, but to even build upon that and really make us better and the leading provider of aquatics throughout our community.
I thought I was going to walk away from the nature center without her in my arms. And to finally hear that scream. So thankful that she managed to save herself. And I mean, it was the fear of losing a child is something I can't even describe. I can't thank the YMCA enough for teaching not only my daughter, but teaching thousands of other kids the same lesson, that it's because of the YMCA that my daughter is still alive today.
Pretty crazy, huh? So just the last 2 weeks, we put just about 100 kids through safety around water at Patton Park, and that was through a grant through YUSA. So this is something that is very important to us and something that we know works. And this is just one of many stories. There's tons of videos. We could sit here all day, get some popcorn, and watch these videos. It's just crazy how these are life-changing. So I'm not going to reread these statistics, but we are here to answer the call, and we can really, after meeting with Dr. Bryant and Amy Lynn Holt, we believe that this is something that we can do. It will take work, it will take time, it's going to take coordination, but we can change these statistics right here for our community. Where am I? Maybe? Operator error.
You broke it. It's okay.
I swim much better than I operate PowerPoint.
Matthew will fix it.
There you go.
So, too close to home, about 10 people drown every day in the United States, and drowning is the 5th leading cause of unintentional death, according to the CDC. Just scrolling down there, according to the North Carolina Medical Examiner, those numbers are increasing year by year. And I just think about, our area is so beautiful, so gorgeous, and kids and adults are curious around the water. And this type of program is proven to help prevent that. One of the crazy things that I can't believe is that 60% of drowning, maybe 68% of drownings happen under adult supervision. So, and especially now, unfortunately, we see this at Patton Pool, right? Good thing we have lifeguards that are out there. But it's just really important for these kids to just have those basic skills. Our safety around water, which we will be doing hopefully for this school, will include four lessons in which they will help children to understand how to respond in the water. It promotes fun, it prevents drowning, and it also has health benefits for active lifestyle. It builds confidence for these kids as well. The purpose is to reach children at the highest risk. Second grade is a really good grade. Back in Illinois, we had a program where we had every second grader coming through our doors, swimming in the pool, becoming comfortable with the water. We target school-age children, and we would do this at the Hendersonville Family YMCA. As we grow and expand and become more comfortable with the program, depending on timing, we can if times overlap, we could even pull this out to Patton Pool for students that are beyond the second grade. So like my goal is like to work with y'all to do the second graders, but then as the YMCA, how am I going to get those rising third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh graders? So that's something that we are going to own alongside. So 71% of the earth is water and 65% of your child is water. Of course they belong. I was talking to an adult today who taking adult swim lessons and just said that she never had the opportunity, and it's a really scary thing for her to even get in the water. And so private lessons for adults are what is happening right now. Skills and outcomes. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach the children to submerge, jump, push, turn, grab, swim, float, swim. That's what saved Cassidys' life. She was stuck under that bridge and she kept swimming, floating on her back, trying to swim and float. And that is a true story. Those were not actors. So this is part of the sequence that we are building in for the students of Henderson County. Together, we can totally save lives. We can reduce the risk of drownings. Safety around water is proven to save lives, build confidence. It teaches kids how to stay safe around and in water, but it also has this beautiful social component, which we all know that kids need that even more nowadays. We will create the opportunity for every second grader in the county to participate in an intro to water safety class during the school year. That's the plan. We hope to create a sustainable long-term program. We don't want this to be like, hey, we had a great idea. No, this is a great idea, and we want it to be long-term. We will coordinate efforts of staffing with the Y and the school upon creating a smooth implementation for transportation, transitions, facility use, and instruction. I think that when our water aerobic ladies are out there dancing and our people are swimming laps, when they see 40 kids at a time come in, at first they're going to be like, what's going on? But then they're going to be so blessed by that. I already have 5 of our regular swimmers and water aerobic people that are like, train me up. I want to play. I want to be in the water with these kids. So we're getting a great response to it. Cost of SAW right now is approximately $60 per child to implement the program as we do it now. That's it in a nutshell. I know y'all had a long meeting ahead and you got more stuff to go, but are there any questions? Yes.
I do. What's the advantage of second graders versus kindergarten children when we know that age 1 through 4 is that group where?
Right. So there's no magic number within this. Just in my past experience, the second graders retain a little bit more. These are going to be 4 lessons versus the kindergartner would do better with like 8 consecutive lessons. So these are going to be 4 lessons. One, our aquatics director will come to the school and talk about the program and do a dry lesson, and then we'll do 3 in the water.
Okay. I was thinking this would obviously be a big draw for kindergarten students as well, and keeping our kindergarten attendance, it might be something that would be I just think about losing any of those K through 2 kids because we didn't teach them these skills in kindergarten instead of second grade.
Is this program year-round?
Yes, we will be running. So we'll be running our plan if it goes as we discussed would start in September and run all the way through late April. We'll be able to get all of the second graders in the Henderson County Public Schools done during that time. And then we run programs all summer long for safety around water, which, like I said, we will be really working to reach those younger kids. And we start them as early as 3 years old. We had 3-year-olds in our safety around water.
I want to make a comment. Yesterday, I was talking to one of the schools that took K-5 to Patton Pool. And a lot of those kids in K-2 had never been in a pool. And they were just, there was lifeguards and stuff. But the teachers said, next time we bring them, and this is during the summer school, we're going to bring our bathing suits. We're going to get in there with our kids. And then this is today. So I think this is fantastic.
Thank you. And yes, we love when our schools and camps get in our camps are required to have instructors, their camp counselors in the pool. Thank you.
Let's talk about the $60.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
And barriers for some of our kids. Some of our kids don't have swimsuits.
Right.
Transportation, getting them to there from the teachers. How are the teachers going, their roles in this? Can you explain some of that?
Yes,
to us?
sir, absolutely, and I appreciate that. As the board will see later on in new business, you have the opportunity to formally approve this partnership, because as he mentioned, this would involve a commitment on our part, believing the value of this education piece to be part of the total child development. In short, you'd be looking at a $60,000 commitment by the school system just for the participation. We would be allocating our currently funded dollars in order to do so. We'd be providing the transportation. The teacher and the aide would be adult supervision. Hopefully, we'll have some teachers that will say, I want to get in the pool with them. Hopefully, we'll have teachers that say, I want to be trained to be part of that. But from a staffing standpoint, the Y would be committing to doing the actual training itself. Our staff would be committing to doing the supervision of the children in the space and the transportation of the children. And the school system would be saying, should you choose to approve it later in the board meeting, that this is an important step for us to provide a necessary survival education for every child in our community, so that every child, as they went through the school system, let's say second grade here forward, that would be a commitment that we'd make to that. To Mr. Craven's point, it's also going to involve some community support, because not every child has a swimsuit. Not every child has the necessary personal belongings to feel comfortable in that space. And so community partners, I know, have often reached out to the Y and said, what can we do? What can we donate? What we can contribute? Because we think that that would be a necessary part of this process. And to Mr. Bridges' point, if you were looking at this from an educational piece, it would take all year long to provide this opportunity for every child within our school system. So when you think about this in an opportunistic way, when you think about it as a community health commitment and a whole child commitment, it provides an opportunity for this board to say that we want to consider an investment in that, in our resource, and then making sure that our staff and our resources are part of that work.
And are all 4 of the lessons in the pool, or are you going to have some classroom lessons?
We have one classroom lesson where we go over the entire curriculum, play games, get them familiar with the materials, and then 3 consecutive Tuesdays or Wednesday, whatever day we fall on, they will come at that exact same time, and ideally have the same instructor that whole time. We train all the instructors, any teachers that would want to go through that. Like, we will provide any training for any community members at no charge. I'm going to get trained. I can't wait to get in the water and play.
Can you address liability concerns?
In what regard? Like,
In case you have an accidental drowning during your instruction period, who's responsible? YMCA or the Henderson County School System?
so you're saying like while they're taking the program?
Yes.
Well, they would be in our facility, and I have lifeguards, and we would be manning the water, so you're in my center.
And you would be willing to go out to community organizations and show this and give your deal?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I love that. People have already been reaching out. How can we help? I have members that want to donate towards swimsuits, towards helping kids that are not in second grade. So.
May I say something? First of all, I just want to say how excited I am about this program and the opportunity to partner with you guys and be able to offer this to our students. I just want to kind of piggyback on what Mrs. Caskey said. You know, is there any data or research behind why it's second grade as opposed to kindergarten, first grade? I'm sure there is.
Right.
But
I don't have that data. I'm happy to dig
I'd like to
into a
see
little
that
bit. Yeah.
and just to see, and I'm not trying to second guess you or anybody who's worked on this. I just want to understand for myself why second grade, that 7-year-old, I think, is the optimal grade for this when, you know, if we are as schools going to be taking our children to these public pools during summer school, we need to make sure we know what we're doing there as well. But
Right. I'm happy to look into the numbers. I do not have that. I was doing it based upon my 20 years of doing it in Illinois, and that's something
Yes.
that I've been comfortable with, and I know that
and I don't
retention is there.
discount that at
No,
all.
I'm not getting defensive at all, but I'll tell you, when we met the first time, Amy Lynn and Rebecca and Jennifer said kindergartners, and just after going through and my experience and what otherwise have done, But I'm more than
How
happy
long
to
are
dig
the
in.
sessions? Each
They'll be
se-
about 45 to 50 minutes.
Then that kind of speaks to second grade as well. Okay.
And,
Especially if you
and
put-
we
Otherwise,
can,
I'd have to switch to more like 30 minutes.
Yes, yes.
And then, once we met with Dr. Bryan, he was thinking optimal is second grade as well. I think just for their ability to understand kind of what they're doing, but we can discuss all that in new business.
So this is for all kids. I heard you say that. You said that. For all kids attending summer school?
No,
Attending
Henderson
regular
County
school.
Regular school.
regular school.
Can you opt? I'm a proponent of choosing, having the ability to say yes or no, but so can you opt out?
Yes,
Certainly.
absolutely.
Absolutely. It would be an offering that we would provide, but if a parent did not want their child to participate for whatever that reason was, certainly that would be their choice. Yes,
And-
sir.
And LK went to the commissioners meeting and showed it to the commissioners, and they're way on board with this, but even more than Henderson County Public Schools, they want homeschooled kids, charter school,
Good.
et cetera, to be involved in that. So
Good.
they're, they have a commitment.
So that's the other wing of it that we'll be working on.
Great.
Any other questions?
Just so grateful to LK for her passion around this. Again, it's a conversation we've had as we talk about how do we make sure that our kids are receiving the best education, but that whole child education, being able to be safe in every space, it's an exciting opportunity for us. So you get a chance to, like I said, formally give this consideration for approval at later opportunity in the board meeting, but just want to say thanks so much for being here
Well,
today.
thank you.
Really
Thank you
appreciate
for having me. And if you want to see it in action, let me know. I'd love to have you over. If you haven't been to the YMCA lately, it's a lot different. So I would love to give you a tour. And I want to say I've emailed several of you a few times, so it's kind of fun to see some faces.
Thank you very much.
it very much. Thank you.
All right, next up is going to be board chair observations. I just have two quick little observations. It's been a really crazy sports season for our school and for North Carolina in general. And this past weekend, several of our athletes wrapped up state track and field championships, baseball championships, but we had two state champion winners this year, and it was the Hendersonville women's tennis team, back-to-back state champions. And Tristan Norris from North Henderson High School. I went to school with his dad, so I'm really proud of Tristan. Did a great job, and great job to those kids and everybody else that competed. That's
There
all
was
for me.
a good article in the paper about the North athletes. and
Absolutely.
Their
Coach-
coach and,
Yeah, the coach out there has done a fantastic.
yeah, it was
Um,
pretty cool.
It was a great article that I think Blue Ridge now put out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I will defer to you guys, board members, observations. Anyone?
I'm sure we'll have
Quiet bunch
plenty
today.
to
All
say
right.
going down.
All right, next up, I think I got most of them. This is it, right, Mr. Taylor? All right. Ms. Alfrey's going to check to make sure we don't have any more public comments, but we're going to get going on public comments. We've got quite a few today. Just a reminder, you have 3 minutes so that we can get through these. And that's time will start when you get up to the podium. First up is going to be Miss Kim Frost, I believe. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. So I'm not a public speaker. I don't really want to be here, but giving the chance that my children could be coming to me crying about having to wear a mask in the upcoming school year, I want to be able to tell them that I fought for them and that we don't conform just because society tells us to. I have 2 kids, upcoming kindergartner. He was in the preschool at Mills River this year, and then an upcoming 2nd grader. So she would be involved in the Y program. It seems like, given the Y slideshow that we just saw, everyone was on board with that, and our children would be going in the water close to each other without mask on. So it seems like, since everyone seems to be on board with that, it just goes to show, sitting in a schoolroom with each other, not breathing heavily, that they shouldn't have to have masks at that time either. I'm amazed that after a year and a half of this pandemic and leaked information concerning misinformation of the use of masks, after the study showing that children rarely contract or transmit COVID-19, And being in the land of the free, that I am standing up here pleading my case for my children not have to wear a mask and to make the decision that I choose to what's best for them. I've worked in healthcare for several years, for 17 years, and we have always been taught that surgical masks, cloth masks, are made to prevent large droplets from coming out when you cough. It is never meant to be a preventative. But again, here we are sitting in masks. A group of parents, I'm sure you've all seen, did a study on masks. They sent it off to the lab. It showed bacteria, parasites, fungus, 11 dangerous pathogens on it. So I'm just asking as a parent to make it optional. I'm not saying ban the mask. I just want to choose whether my child wears a mask or not. And I know there's the Free the Act, the Smiles Act. So if that's passed, you guys will have that decision to make. If it's not passed, I do ask that you vote to defy Cooper's mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is going to be Gloria Kimsey. Hello. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for letting us speak today.
Absolutely.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Gloria Kimsey. I currently have 2 children in the school system. Both have been forced to wear masks for a year and a half of their time in Henderson County Public Schools for 8 hours a day during physical and outdoor activities. Also during sporting events. Have any of you tried to play soccer, run, walk up a flight of stairs with a mask on? I doubt it, but you force our kids to do so. You all claim these decisions were based on science, but when I would receive responses to questions I asked, it was always pass the buck. The athletic recommendations, North Carolina High School Association, quarantining children came from the Henderson County Health Department. School rules made by the NC Board of Education. Did anyone think to ask where they were getting their recommendations from? Because it obviously wasn't based on the science we've been told to follow for a year and a half. The CDC never encouraged closing schools and said children shouldn't be wearing face coverings. Yet what happened last year? The exact opposite. You've ignored the advice of in-county pediatricians voting against letting our children come back to school full time. Do any of you have medical degrees that dispute real doctor, scientist, or scientist? Every school employee have had ample opportunity to be vaccinated if they so wish. Wasn't that the hurdle the board wanted us to jump? Safety for the teachers so students can stop being muzzled? That's done, yet the masks continue. I would bet money that every single person employed by this Henderson County Public School has been out to eat, a salon, brewery, vacation, leisurely shopping, the list goes on. This is no longer about protecting adults. Our kids need to breathe and see faces. One of my child's science teachers left her windows open all year during the winter, freezing her class because she was scared and wanted fresh air. She even had a rope tied around the perimeter of her desk so no students could get near her. Is this what you consider normal and healthy? No. My youngest told stories of kids pulling their masks down to eat boogers. I'll finish with this. End of last year, I got a call from the school nurse on a Monday around noon. I was told my child was exposed to COVID. On Friday of the previous week, I needed to come immediately and get my child so she could quarantine for 10 days. I had to leave work. No one called me on Friday, even though they knew. My child was around my entire family, including older grandparents and a pregnant aunt. They went out of state. Later, the excuse was given the school nurse leaves at 4 p.m. and there were over 30 parents to call. Boo-hoo. Why the quarantine if she had the mask on? The nurse said the cloth masks are actually not a barrier for COVID. Only a paper surgical mask would keep them out of quarantine. But we can't tell the parents that. So then why are they being forced to wear these useless masks? We're just doing what we're told. When can my child return to school with a negative result? After asking several times, she points to a date on the calendar and says she can come back in 3 days. Another made-up rule. None of the other 30-plus parents were offered this info. Why are parents being told lies about the mask? Why is important information being withheld from parents? This should anger everyone. Our kids have been fed this Leader in Me curriculum daily, reciting the habits, be kind to others. Well, it's your turn. Do what's best for our kids. Stop pandering to the fear-mongering public. Be leaders for our kids, not followers. Lose the mask. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up will be Janice Parker. Welcome, Ms. Parker. It's not.
This helps me organize stuff. I'm a grandmother. My children were taught by the Scott case, Constitution. So you've heard some of the negatives about the mask and the vaccine. I sent to
all of you yesterday with some reports from qualified and reputable, including the Association of American Physicians, Surgeons. So you've heard all that, but I'm here today to speak to you about our God-given freedoms in America. When you were elected office, you took the oath to defend the U.S. Constitution. Carolina. Documents are the supreme law of the land and of the state, and they provide that only legislative bodies make law. Is that correct? So therefore, executive orders from a governor, health department, they're not law, and they cannot be legal. As our elected representatives, it is your duty to declare them null and void and to use your power to ensure that they are not enforced against your constituents. Not only that, but there are some laws that the mandates actually violate some laws. For example, the Food and Drug Administration designates face masks as medical devices pursuant to FDA Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, Section 418, definition number 2. And as such, the use of face masks is regulated in every state. So, firing or forcing someone to wear a face mask, a medical device, may be punishable as the unlicensed practice of medicine. It's a crime in all states. And anyone harmed by having to wear this medical device by someone because of someone without a license may also sue damages in civil courts whereby such person may be liable for any foreseeable injury that results from the misconduct. But, we've sent you information about the injury parents have mentioned. So I'm here just to encourage you to make plans to free our children from these. Do the right thing. Both of us. I thank you for your service and pray for you all for wisdom. Praise.
To say the least.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is going to be Mr. David Knock. Welcome, sir.
School year is ending. You'll be faced with challenges for the upcoming year. The new guidelines from the state will be issued shortly. New legislation that passed will put the decisions in your court. You are now going to have to make some serious determinations. Let's try to make them based on supported data rather than fear-based media. You're responsible for our children's education, advancement in life, and safety. Let's use critical thinking to question what you are told and seek out the real facts. Shot is only being distributed under EUA. There is no VIC, which is vaccination information sheet, because it's not FDA approved. You are the experimental drug discipline. Manufacturer's data sheet is one-sided. They are in charge of overseeing the studies. The latest CDC reported injuries in 12 to 17 age group is up over 11,500, including 7 deaths. On June 27th, the FDA added a warning about the risk of developing heart inflammation. Government gave all legal and fiscal immunity to the makers and a long list of others involved who can administer shock by the documents NCVIA and the PrEP Act, even if it results in death or injury, permanent injury. By Supreme Court definition, it is not a vaccine. Recent studies show that 4,115 vaccinated have contracted the virus. Worldwide stats are even more alarming. Moderna originally registered YES1 as a gene therapy company. This is their very first vaccine. Moderna's confidential agreement with the NIH released in 2018 included signatures from Chapel Hill. The Merriam Dictionary was rewrote in 2019. Why? Transformative social and emotional learning. SEL is the rebranding of critical race theory, so you are aware. In the past 6 months, the shots claimed 6,136 deaths, 387,000 adverse deaths. Europe is only 10% larger than the U.S., but it has twice as many deaths. The World Integrated Trade System shows that COVID-19 supplies were being imported and exported in 2017. Crystal ball is soon. 26 corporations own all the media in the U.S. Censorship. I was said to us before making any decisions about our children, do some research. There are supporting documents for every fact stated here today. You must find out for yourself what's being withheld. Step out of your comfort zone. Everything is out there, but you must ask the right question. This is your homework assignment. You can start by looking up the 1974 Kissinger Report, a U.S. document that was released to the public in '89. You'll be alarmed. Should the decision of making our students be required to take the risk of the shot, this would be a decision between doctor, parent, and patient with total informed consent. Children have a survival rate of 99.997. Our hospitals are empty, shut down, case numbers. Again, I referenced the 74 Kissinger Report. You'll be surprised.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Next is going to be Karen Oldenburg. Thank you for coming today.
Today, this current issue, critical race theory, is defined by the Encyclopedia Britannica as the concept in which race is socially constructed category ingrained in American law intended to contain social, economic, political, and equality, whites and non. It holds that the U.S. society is inherently and systemically racist. President Biden confirmed in one of his recent statements to the press that America is not a racist country. Former President Donald Trump agrees with Joe on this and has stated that CRT is a program of national suicide. Kim Scott, our senator from South Carolina, it's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. So why are we in our public schools and universities indoctrinating generations of children with these extreme ideas, and what are we to do about it? At all levels, we must confront this destructive ideology. Parents must require that the state make available to them all lesson plans. Parents in every school district must organize to eliminate action civics and other versions of that effort that distorts traditional civics education into a vehicle of political indoctrination. Parents should insist that advanced programs remain available to children. Math is not racist. We all must vote for school board members that reflect our values. Larry P. Arndt of the Hillsdale College wrote, "We must nurture and inform patriotism among the young, and if our liberty is to be preserved, liberty's only defense is an educated citizenry prepared to defend it." Former President Ronald Reagan said, freedom equals liberty, is never more than one generation from extinction. Today's children are tomorrow's leaders. Their generational values will be shaped by parents and teachers. Should we not ensure that our children will be confident, respectful, colorblind, and non-hyphenated, proud Americans? I urge you, the board and parents, to find your voice, to take action, to defend and protect your liberties from those who would strip it from you.
Thank you. Next, Kathy Eresta. Hope I said your last name right. Good. How are you?
I'm here because I am aware, as a concerned grandparent, that because I've been to some of the Department of Health board meetings, that there is a vaccine campaign in this county. And I'm here to address that campaign in the school system. Because if you're all are considering that you're going to follow the campaign that the health board is considering, would hope that you would know that this vaccine, this product, is under emergency use authorization, and I think that you guys all know that that's true. It's an authorization, not an approval of the vaccine. And it's illegal under federal law, and I sent you guys all an email today too, so you can see where all my references are about the things I'm talking about. And there's too many things that are unknown about the vaccine, and you'll see that in my email, what they all are, from the effectiveness against, any prevention to there. And all of there's adverse reactions that are not known because it just hasn't been studied. This is under EUA cannot be mandated. None of the vaccines know that if it's under any product under emergency use authorization to be mandated to be it's the informed consent that matters from the parents in this case, because the kids, I believe, don't really have, it shouldn't be the kids that are deciding or you deciding for them, and some places are also just doing it to the kids without the parents even knowing. To me, I'm not sure how you guys feel about that, but that's going a little bit too far, because helping kids that are, especially the younger ones, know anything about what's going on. So that should be left up to the parents. And under federal law, it is illegal to mandate this. I hope you guys all know that, and that it also says that you could be liable, because none of the vaccine companies are liable right now. It's been that way for a long time, since 1986. And it would come back to this school board. So I hope you will give that some consideration, what that implies for you, if you were ever to consider saying something about the vaccines that you mandated. It's a personal choice, and I hope that you take that seriously, because personal choice, as we've heard, is important for all of us. It's our health choices, our own private, sacred something that we do for ourselves. So I am glad to be able to share my comments, and thank you for listening, and let us know for sure. I hope to hear soon that won't be part of what you guys are considering. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Bryan, will you make sure that mic is on?
Yes.
Was it off? That was a problem.
So everybody has to go again?
Well, they said they could hear it. It sounded muffled. WP O'Connor is next. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members, today pure unadulterated racism is being taught in our schools here in Henderson County as anti-racism. Here are some of the racist, anti-racist language that is part of the form called critical race theory. What is brown privilege? As discussed by Lipsitz, Lee, Harris, McIntosh, and other CRT scholars, brown privilege refers to the various social, political, and economic advantages brown individuals experience in contrast to non-brown citizens based on their racial membership. These advantages can include both obvious and subtle differences in access to power, social status, experiences of prejudice, educational opportunities, and much more. For CRT scholars, the notion of brown privilege offers a way to discuss dominant culture's tendency to normalize brown individuals' experiences and ignore the experiences of the non-brown. Fields such as CRT and brownness studies have focused explicitly on the concept of brown privilege to understand how racism influences brown people. Those of you who are awake and alert notice that I replaced one word. This is a system. It is racist on the face of it. CRT is a perfectly undeniable example of what systemic racism looks like. The people of Henderson County send their children to schools to be taught the true uniqueness of our country, that before ours, no country was ever founded on a written constitution and the idea of that people can govern themselves. Before America, there was only tribalism, warlords, and petty kingdoms ruled mostly small territories, and it was you changed your governments by blood. Is the United States racist? Let's look at the Olympic teams. Every Japanese Olympian looks Japanese. Every Chinese, Chinese. Every Swede, Swedish. And every Kenyan looks like he or she was born in Kenya. Consider the American team. It and only it has a team of people who look like they could have come from any or all of the others combined. Is this a systemic racist country? Then why do people everywhere continue year after year to swarm to us for the chance to join us? Up to 78% of the world's people, when in surveys of where they would most like to live, including those who don't intend to leave their country, so up to 78% of those people say, "I'd rather live in the U.S." Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. Did you say that this was being taught in Henderson County Public Schools?
I have a lineup of parents who'll say that it is.
Okay, if you could get that information either to us specifically or the superintendent, that would be great.
I'll be delighted to get that information and get it to you all if you'll give me some way to contact you. By phone?
Absolutely.
Should I do that? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And last up is Mr. Rice Mccall.
You're gonna
Welcome.
need to adjust the mic.
Yeah, we'll pull that down for you. You got it? Hey, he's got it.
My name is Rice Mccall, and I just finished 5th grade with all A's at Hillendale Elementary. I'm an active member in my church. I play football, and this year I graduated from Cub Scouts to Trail Life, and I did all that without wearing a mask. Last year, school was hard. When we were all virtual, I couldn't see my friends at all during that time, and when we came back, we had to shove a piece of cloth on our faces. I once brought a mesh mask to school and got sent to the vice principal's office. I also had a friend get told by a teacher, "Put your mask on. I don't want you breathing on my stuff." I thought that was wrong. I've been told by friends that these things stink, but they never do anything about it. That's why me and 3 of my friends decided at the end of the school year to put up petitions to ask people if they like masks. Well, the next day they were all taken down. Also that day we asked if we could pass a petition around the 4th and 5th grade classes. They said no to that as well. I don't want middle school to be like this next year. I want it to be where kids don't have to worry about getting in trouble for not covering their faces. I don't think it's fair that adults don't have to wear them, but kids do. I don't wear masks at football or church or the gym or anywhere else I go, so it doesn't make sense that I have to wear one in school. Please try to do all you can to help get rid of these things. Thank you.
Hey, great job, young man. That was a great job. Thank you. That was our final public comment. Just another note on public comments that are emailed to us. We all receive those. We all read them. Well, I can't say that you read them. I read them. And we do see all those that come to us as well. Next up is going to be the consent agenda. We're going to approve that without G on there. Have an approval?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented with the removal of item G.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. We have no old business today, so we're going to move on to new business. And just to, after we get through our new business, some of our return to learn update, I believe, will encompass some of the stuff that we just talked about and some of the public comments that were here today. So we'll knock these out and then we'll get to there. Dr. Winnie Fry. Welcome. Not swimming in a fish tank today or like feeding sharks or anything?
I'm not.
All right.
It was fun though.
I bet.
It ended up being fun. Thank you. Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to come here today to seek your approval on an accountability model for our Career Academy. So just a little history behind this. So each year, the school board is asked to recommend one of 3 accountability models. So since 2015, Henderson County has chosen option B, which provides a change rating rather than a school letter grade for our Career Academy. And we are recommending that this board continue with option B, which would provide that change rating. What we like about this model is that it looks at 3-year trend data, and it also recognizes student persistence. And that's our goal. We want students to stay in school, receive career preparation, and then seek gainful, meaningful employment. So that is our recommendation. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any other options, or is it just A and B?
There is option C, in which we develop our own model, and we're very pleased with model B and would recommend continued use.
Yeah, B has a big push on the growth aspect of things, which is what we're trying to do, right?
Sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
If there's no questions, I will accept the motion.
I'll do it. I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve option B, the alternative schools progress model, as the accountability model for the Career Academy for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. And next up, the CTE Local Plan, Dr. Wendy Fry.
Thank you so much. And it is my pleasure also to recognize with us our Director of Career and Technical Education in Middle Schools, Mr. Scott Moore. What a wonderful addition he has been to the instructional services staff, a class act with such rich instructional history and expertise. So happy to have him here. So this is something new. In the past, CTE plans have always been yearly plans. Well, the state transitioned to these being 2-year plans. So last year's plan was presented to you and approved by you. So what we are seeking tonight is your approval of continuation of the 2022 CTE Local Plan. If you'll allow, I'd like to share with you a few highlights
Please.
From CTE. And I know something that this board is very interested in is the apprenticeship program. We have been so pleased to see student participation and community support. What an amazing community we have. That program continues to expand. I have some numbers I want to share with you, and I want to thank Mr. Moore for putting this together for us tonight. We have 20 students from this year's graduating class who have already been selected for apprenticeship opportunities in advanced manufacturing and in automotive.
Awesome.
We are awaiting a July 12th through 15th pre-apprenticeship opportunity for business and banking. This is one that's newly added to see how many students will be selected for that opportunity. Just a really, the value of that program. I could talk all night about that. We have a few other things to do. Also, we continue to have a focus on Project CAST, creating awareness in the skilled trades area. Our Grow Our Own program, you've heard about that, and you have supported that 100%. We have this really cool new program, drone technology, that began at North Henderson. It has expanded to Hendersonville High School through grant funds. The General Assembly and Department of Public Instruction continue to make money available for workforce preparation programs. And we continue to increase our focus in middle schools and really providing greater career awareness through our grant-funded career exploration coordinator in middle schools. We are looking so forward to returning to normal and getting back to our health sciences camp, our STEM camps, our early scholars program with Wingate, our junior career day being face-to-face at Blue Ridge, and our advanced manufacturing day. So just really good things, and I can't say enough about Mr. Moore's good work in this area. So just ask that you approve a continuation of this plan.
I got to say, Mr. Moore has quite big shoes to fill over there.
It might be high too.
There you go. Perfect.
He's
Does anyone
fine.
have questions about any of the CTE stuff that we're doing with the manufacturers, or about this local plan and how we're just continuing this for another year?
No, I just think it's great that we do offer these, and we're not just satisfied with what's going on. We're expanding it, and you know, including others and more people, and it's great.
Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve the continuation of the Career and Technical Education Local Plan for school year 21 and 22.
Second.
You won. Kathy won. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your continued support.
Absolutely. Next, we get to hear from Campbell Shatley, and this is just a resolution. I think we have to sign these every year.
Yes.
Yes, this is something that you do each year, so there is not a particular piece of property that's under consideration, but this is a pretty straightforward resolution that would allow, again, with knowledge of the board, because you can give instruction to your chair and your superintendent about terms for acquiring property in closed session. So this resolution is one more step that would allow them to go then get an option on a piece of property or put it under contract contingent on the county commission approving the price, which is required by statute, and this board approving the final closing of the property. So this is just one more step that if a wonderful piece of property became available, it would allow you to act on it, because obviously if the whole world finds out you're interested in a piece of property, you might get outbid. So this is a lawful way for you to have a shot at a piece of property that might be good for a new school. But again, no particular property is under consideration right now.
We don't need to have a motion on this.
Yes, we
You do.
Where's the?
It's an action item each time. This is item C.
that?
It's down there by the signatures. I can make it sound good.
And you can just say motion to approve and give the name of the resolution.
There you go.
I move we approve the resolution authorizing the chairperson to execute contracts
Second.
And- go ahead.
Oh, there was more.
and options for the acquisition of property and memorandum thereof.
Good.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is approved.
That's pretty good for not reading them.
I know, right? Look at that. Like she's done it before. Next up is D, joint resolution for Berkeley Park and Edwards Park here. Dr. Bryant.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, and members of the board. As you well know, we have been engaged in some extended conversations for quite some time as it relates to opportunities to consider a property exchange with the city of Hendersonville. And the resolution that you have before you is the one that the city of Hendersonville and city council approved in their meeting in early June. In short, what that resolution does is it identifies the basic terms of that agreement for a property transition and an opportunity for the Board of Education to acquire the Berkeley Mills Park property, which again would be intended to be used as an extension of the Hendersonville High School athletic complex. So based on some discussions that we've had at this time, ultimately this resolution, which has been approved and reviewed by Campbell Shatley, would allow us to then get into the final stages and the details of a property swap associated with that. But it indicates this board's support of that dialogue and discussion. It will authorize us to continue to move forward to finalize that property resolution.
Yeah, and just like you said, this is not the contract. We will have a contract. This just allows us to continue going forward with it. And then the attorneys do their thing, and then we'll bring back a final contract on what that'll end up looking like.
Exciting.
Questions, comments, concerns? I'll take a motion. Anybody?
I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve the joint resolution authorizing the superintendent, school board attorney, city manager, and city attorney to negotiate and develop an exchange agreement between the city of Hendersonville and the Henderson County Board of Public Education.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's approved. Next up is the safety around water. Dr. Bryant?
Yes, sir. And this is a continuation of what you heard today in the board highlight. Again, in short, the board has an opportunity to continue a partnership with the YMCA of Hendersonville, the Family YMCA, to provide this support and this educational opportunity. It is an investment on our part. As I mentioned, the fee or the cost associated with $60 per student. In essence, we would be allocating $60,000 of our current local expense to be part of supporting students in this programming. We would be committing to the transportation of students back and forth. We would be committing to utilizing our own staff to be part of the supervision as it associates with that. I think as you heard today, it's a tremendous opportunity to create safety for every child in our community, and one that I think we all well know. It's been a topic of discussion in our board meetings and in our community as it relates to that, and this would allow us to begin the implementation. I again would remind the board, if we were serving including all grade 2 students or some version of students based on the data that came back to us. It would be an all-year endeavor and implementation. So to serve 13 elementary schools and 1,000 students, we essentially would be committing to building that schedule as soon as the school year got started. I appreciate the work that's gone into and the advocacy associated with that. As you see, LK has an enthusiasm and a passion for serving and supporting in that regard. And should the board choose to approve that, we would begin the coordination and the final details associated with that, so all of our schools knew when their session was, and parents ultimately had the opportunity to choose whether their children participated. Be glad to answer any questions.
I think everybody that's on this board knows that this has been a big deal for me for a long time. I think this is just the start. I think the county honestly should have their own swimming facility, and hopefully that's something that we can talk about one day and look at getting all kids in the water, not just second graders, but high schoolers and everyone else. I've had family members, second cousins that have passed away in Lake Summit from drowning that were 19, 20 years old. And this is a life skill, and just one of those things that I think that all kids should know how to tread water, how to get back on the boat safely, get back on the dock safely, whatever the case may be. But I think this is a perfect step in that direction. And I'm very appreciative that Ms. Mccall and Ms. Hensley and Mrs. Holt all decided to take the lead on this and get this going for us. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, if you've been around any amount of time, I've been advocating for this now since I think it was 2011 was the first death that I was touched by. My high school son's teammate drowned in Lake Summit and passed away. And then 2 years later, I think it was his senior year, another football teammate he was actually at another school at North. He drowned and passed away, I mean, within 2 years. And it is every time when it warms up, I just cringe knowing that, you know, one of our children and then adults too, we hear about adults, you know, falling over the waterfalls and drowning or, you know, whatever, in our county. And it's so scary. And, you know, Rebecca, Jennifer, and I sat down for a meeting about something else, and this came up, and, you know, it was huge on everybody's mind. So for me to think that this has been something I've been advocating for, you know, 10 years, it is just super exciting that we could get kids safe. And I'm so thankful that the commissioners, you know, were very interested in this program and wanted to help support it too. I wrote a grant to United Way, to their Women United program, and it was approved, and we got the money last week for bathing suits, towels that, you know, for kids that need it, and for other kids in the county. So it was delivered straight to the YMCA, and so that they could kind of, you know, officiate that if we have homeschool kids that, you know, want to get it done or whatever. But it is just super exciting that we could have our community safer by teaching children safety in water.
Very good.
You know, I brought up the fact about having the ability to choose, but in part of me is just like, to graduate, you need to be able to swim. I know we can't say that.
Right.
You could make a local rule, but I'm sure there'd be some opt-outs that you could have there.
Yeah, and you know, but in the people, the parents that say no to learning to swim, that's almost who we need to make sure we go after and question, and because once they grow up and not know how to swim, they're not going to learn how to swim when they're 30. They're not going to learn how to swim when they're 20. I mean, it just seems like, and there's going to come a time, sometime in their life, that they're going to need to swim like the high school football. They're not going to learn how to swim. So we need to start early and get people swimming.
That swimming is also being comfortable in the water. It takes time.
Yeah.
You know, 3 times in the water is not going to make you super proficient to be able to for the rest of your life. So it's a skill. And so hopefully we can continue this and grow this.
But if you go 3 times, you're more likely to go a 4th time
True.
than a 5th time.
And maybe it could be an option for, some parents who opt out because they're not comfortable, because they're not there, or whatever.
They might not. Well, they might
can,
not like.
they can
us
go in the
swim.
evening maybe with their kid and do something,
Sure.
We can work that out with the Y.
Amy, I appreciate all your hard work and diligence on this. This is a great program.
It's exciting.
So just for clarification, where are these funds coming from? Are these new funds the commissioners allocated?
No, ma'am. This would be a reallocation of our current dollars. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Great question. Thank you.
I would love to see it start younger, but this is fantastic. I mean, I can't.
Well, we have to start somewhere.
We have to start somewhere, and this is a great place to start.
I think she was right. I think she was being nice. She was like, "Oh, it might take 8 times with a kindergartner." Well, it will.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to. So I think 2nd grade's a good place to start. I agree. Kids need to be in water before kindergarten, but we get them when we get them. But I that's why I'd like to see this expand. And the Y is only so big. You can only swim Patton Pool. 6 months out of the year, 5 months out of the year, whatever it is. We don't have them for 3 of those months. A lot of those kids, and so hopefully, my goal has always been to have a swimming facility in Henderson County. We've got 2 swim teams, Hendersonville and West, I think. East and North don't even have a swim team because we don't have any space for them to swim. I was a part of the YMCA youth, whatever volunteer or lifeguard program back in the day, and I love to swim now. I've always taught my kids when I was young. It's something we need to continue. This is a great first step for sure.
And we should also advertise that they do have programs for younger
They do.
children. So maybe we should get the word out for parents who say, "Gosh, I'd love for my kindergarten or preschooler to learn." They do have programs
They do.
for that, and they're great. So.
One of the good things about us doing it with the schools is that going back to who can play, who can have a drum, who can have an instrument, whatever. A lot of people cannot afford and don't belong somewhere where they
Right.
can take their children and learn to swim.
Absolutely.
So this is good because every child in 2nd grade has the opportunity.
Well put. There's no further questions. Would you like to make this motion?
I would love to. I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve the implementation of safety around water education for all 2nd grade students. And if data shows another grade is better, in partnership with the Hendersonville YMCA.
Second.
Mr. Egoff, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? It's approved. All right, North Carolina lottery application. Did we win the lottery, Mr. Sosha? Great. Tell us how much we won.
We win it every year, don't we?
Yeah.
We win every quarter.
I was gonna say, 4 times a year.
And out of your generosity, we will give $391,851.39 to the county.
Yep.
Yes, that is the amount of money that is up for this available this quarter for the debt service on Hillendale and Mills River School. And you will, as I've mentioned, this will be through fiscal year 26. So as we have brought that up, that's
So we've got 5
4
more
more
years on that
years.
note.
4.5.
more years on that note.
Yep. It's halfway through the fiscal year 26.
Okay. We do this every 3 months. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I'm just wondering,
Uh-oh.
all of the lottery proceeds from people buying lottery tickets, they all come right to the schools, right?
That's
100%?
You sound like Miss Mary Louise Corn over there,
Well, somebody's got to take it.
right?
There is
No.
definitely a percentage of the lottery proceeds.
I wonder why they call it the school lottery then.
Yeah. All right. I'll take a motion.
I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve the Public School Building Capital Fund, North Carolina Education Lottery application.
Second. Miss Kathy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any not want to approve that? Great. Next up, 21-22 contracts.
Mr. Cravey, may I just make one note for the board before we get started there?
Yeah.
it starts with an apology on my behalf. We sent you an additional contract this morning via email. Stephanie Alfrey's giving you a copy of it right now, but there was one contract that was not included in this list for your consideration to you. And with the board chair and the vice chairman's approval, I'd ask that you'd consider that you approve this along with the group that's in front of you. It is with Mountain Professionals. It is the contracted service that provides our driver's education for all of our students with the school system. It's simply a renewal of the contract that we already have. We have a long-standing relationship with Mountain Professionals who provide this for us. And I apologize it wasn't included in that group, but it's important that we bring this to you because all of the driver's education dollars that we receive from the state of North Carolina are just passed through directly to Mountain Professionals who provide the training, the classroom, and otherwise. And so we wanted you to have an opportunity to have this. We're glad to answer any questions. Mr. Taylor's office now kind of coordinates this from a contractual standpoint, but every year we review the contract, we make sure that we're comfortable with all the language in it, and we bring it to this board for approval. And so I apologize, Mr. Chairman, that that's not on the list, but just wanted to share that with you before Mr. Sosha speaks.
You guys got to see this email before we came in
read it.
today?
Same contract that we've.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Same old contract. This just starts July 1, and it got kind of popped on us soon.
Can I ask one quick question? Are any of the contracts for HVAC or any of those with ESSER funds? No, none of this is ESSER money.
No,
Okay.
no.
This is just over the $90,000
Right.
superintendent
Right.
contract limit.
Yeah, just making sure Davis-Bacon wouldn't apply, so I'm glad it doesn't.
Yep.
We're sausage and eggs today. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that'll come now.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the omelet is on its way.
All right, Mr. Sosha, how do you want to run this?
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you want? This is a new one for us.
Yeah, it is. And just to give everybody some background, we didn't always do this, but we felt it was important that, per our policies, anything below $90,000, the superintendent has the ability to sign for those contracts. Anything over, we're approving those contracts. And a lot of these come year by year, or they are one-offs for construction or change orders or whatever. And so here are a few of those, from waste services to Medicaid billing. Does anybody have any questions from the reading that they did on any of these contracts?
I do.
Okay.
Well, one comment, wow, waste service removal is very expensive.
exactly.
Yes, ma'am. But that is for the 3 years, correct? The contract amount The is contract for... amount is the full contract amount, not Okay, the annual. okay. No, it's about $14,000 a month. Okay. And then the other one is Bayada. And it's just because I'm curious, how does that contract amount, like how does their service with us work? Is it based upon per kid that they're coming to school with and supervising? Yeah, so we bid that, we went through that process to go to a maximum amount that it could be. And that's why Okay. I put a note on there, like, we only used a few $1,000s at all in this past year with everything that was going on. So I put the note for the previous fiscal year, we had 125,000 of Right. needed nursing services throughout the course of the year. They kind of come and they go as, well, now Jennifer Shelton needs this, the services to be provided. So it's more of an as needed basis. Okay, so that's just what you think the most amount could be, but it We just could wanted be... to cover our basis in Okay. case we needed, Okay, perfect. Because I was like, what if we get another kid that has, nursing needs or, I was, okay. Yeah, got it. yes, that's exactly why we went with the large threshold in there, was because you could come in on a Monday morning and Yeah, the absolutely. whole thing changes for you.
Questions
Any
on
other
any of these other
questions about it?
contracts?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll take a motion with the addition of the driver's ed contract.
Yes. I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve the attached contracts, including the contract for, what is it called, Mountain Professionals, is that it? Yes.
Yes.
With the list of specified vendors.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Sosha. Oh, you're still here. Sorry. I didn't mean that, dude.
glad you're
See,
still
we
here.
had that problem before, and that's not what I meant.
There's
gotta
a
watch
sequel
my
and a
intonation, my
trilogy.
tone,
Yes,
right?
sir. There's
My
a
bad.
sequel and a trilogy.
How did you read that message? I'm not sure.
Sole source.
Sole source, similar to the last one. And I will. This is the list of vendors that have been deemed and approved by DPI through application that they have been identified as sole source through the uniform guidance for our use of federal funds, particularly with the $10,000 threshold. And every one of the ones on this list is the same list of vendors that we presented last June. We have to do this every year to identify them to get to use them through the exception. But if you have any questions about any of them in particular, we can answer those.
Questions? I'm going to recuse myself from this vote. I am on the board of the Boys and Girls Club of Henderson County. And so as we've gone through these before, I've always recused myself for that. It's for our migrant ed, but just so there are no appearances of anything. But yeah, I'll take a motion. I just will abstain from voting.
I move the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve the list of specified vendors as vendors under the sole source exemption guidelines.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
You can try it again now.
One more, right? Continuation budget. The real reason we're here today is this continuation budget.
Yeah, but I've been glad to share the space this
Thank
year
you
with
so
everyone
much.
with all the other stuff on the agenda. But yes, you're right. This is the very important part of the meeting to do the interim budget resolution, which will allow us to pay for a number of things in July, including summer school.
Yeah.
There is no magic to what is in the interim budget as far as the dollars are concerned. I have it going through the end of November. I hope that by October we have an actual initial budget resolution for you. But just in case,
Let me ask you this:
We haven't had one.
when do you think the state's going to approve a budget?
wow.
Yeah,
I'm
3 years ago,
I'm going to go with August this year.
August.
I'm going to go with August this
All
year.
right.
He's usually right.
Maybe August 30,
I hope so.
but I'm
been a
optimistic
while.
this year. I just think that
Over under on
they're
that.
Yeah,
due to get
right.
one done in
All right.
3 years.
You have anything you want to point out?
I do have the only major additions to what is normal in here is that we do have the amount of the ESSER funds listed in the federal budget, even though we haven't officially approved them yet for specific application. But I do want to have them in our interim budget so that when we do submit the application, we already have the dollars allocated in there. The capital outlay fund is the full amount for the year, not just half.
And what code is that? Are you putting those ESSERs under 5,300?
Well, that's a
Loaded
very
question.
good
My
question.
bad.
I
No, I'm not
I
trying to make
split
it
them
look
up.
bad.
There's a bunch that are in the 5,300.
Yeah.
There's a lot in the 5,100 as
Yeah.
well.
Okay. Good deal. Anybody have questions?
No.
Get to pay our folks. All right, I'll take a motion.
I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve the 2021-2022 interim budget resolution as presented.
Second.
Mr. Bridges won. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. This is one, the next one, Jay, is one that I asked to be put on the agenda. We had talked about this 2 years ago or
2
so.
years ago.
We had a student at that particular time that was going to Innovative High School, wanted to play soccer. We didn't let students at Innovative High School, whether career academy or early college, play extracurricular sports. They don't have a sports team there. They don't have band. They don't have the chorus. And at that time, the board decided to leave it as it is. The reason I brought this up is that we have, I think every kid in our system should be able to have equal access to everything that we can offer in the school system, right? Whether that's band or playing football or whatever. And so my son was accepted to the early college this year. And so as we were sitting reading the pros and cons of, why would you go to the early college 5-year program, get an associate's degree versus going to traditional high school, the big motivating factor for him was two things, really, band and playing golf. And he really struggled with trying to make that decision on, should I really go to the school, or because I can't play golf anymore, and we shouldn't make them make that choice.
Agreed.
I know there's going to be hoops to go through. I know that school's probably not big enough to have its own sports programs. And I know that would mean that those kids, wherever they come from, would then be, the ADM would go back to their home school district, which I know some people don't like and some people like, but I think we should be removing every barrier we can. And that's a lot about what we talk about up here with equity updates and CTE programs and everything else. We're removing barriers, right, to show kids different things. And anyways, I wanted to bring it up because I don't think it's right.
Right.
I know it's going to be more work. That's what we're here for, right? We're here to remove those barriers to make sure that our kids have the best education and don't miss out on anything. So with that, I'm going to let you take it away.
Yes, sir.
And then we can discuss from there.
This is just a little bit of a deeper dive as Mr. Haven kind of outlined the context of what had most recently taken place. And so I would just share with the board on whole what the current guidelines are, as he mentioned, since the advent of the early college and the career academy as it relates. And right now, students who are full-time enrollees, if they attend there exclusively, they're not eligible for extracurricular activities at their home school districts or their base school, wherever they live. IHS does currently have, and when I say IHS, remember that's the Innovative High Schools. It's two separate schools, two separate school codes. They do have clubs. They have student activities, proms, unique campus events. It's part of their promotion when they're talking about particular events. But exactly as Mr. Craven said, they're not eligible for participation in athletics because there are no athletic programs at IHS. They're not eligible for band, chorus, or strings as it relates to our fine arts programs, which exist at our traditional high schools. The most recent reconsideration, just as noted, was in July and then September of 2019. We brought together, under Mr. Caldwell's leadership, school district leadership, each of our high school principals, that's all 5 of them at the time, a couple of members of the Board of Education. I believe at that time it was Mrs. Holt and Mr. Wood who were part of that group, a representative from Blue Ridge Community College leadership. And I highlight that piece because it is about our agreement with the college. These students are participating in courses that are not necessarily on our schedule. And we discussed to talk about exactly those things to merit the current guidelines, to deliberate over it and make decisions. We built pro and con lists. We had deliberations about each of those things. We evaluated what would be the implications of a change in practice. And then we posed a series of questions that would be consideration if such a change were ultimately to be made by the board. At that time, September 2019, it was the consensus of the group to leave the extracurricular guidance unchanged at that time. And the next series of slides are an attempt to represent exactly those conversations. And so these are unedited. These are exactly the responses from the group at the time as we all submitted pros, cons, and questions associated with it. So I won't read each one of them to you, but you can see the attempt was to try to just capture some of that discussion from the note-taking in the meetings at that time about what would be the rationale behind making a change and creating opportunity in those space. You heard Mr. Craven kind of reference that remove barrier. That certainly is a theme of our work right now as it relates to how we create opportunity and advocacy for each kids, and then all the elements that are associated with what we know the whole child experience might be, whether it's athletics or fine arts curriculum or opportunities in that space. The cons are a series of what educators tend to do, which is we start thinking through all the logistical challenges that are associated with a change in practice. When you think about the cultural experiences, the example that I give there, because a lot of people ask, what do you mean they would miss pep rallies or spirit week? So if you're on the football team and the pep rally's on Friday morning at 9 o'clock and you attend IHS, You're not going to the pep rally necessarily. You have class at the college. And so there was this understanding by the high school administrators that there would be missed experiences outside of just practices and games. Schedules are obvious. The ADM piece was mentioned. I'll just explain that piece from a high school athletic association standpoint as it relates to realignment. We have to report when schools are classified the number of total students who are eligible for participation from the average daily membership. The High School Athletic Association lets you remove students who attend specific learning environments like an early college or an alternative school or a middle college. If your board policy is not to allow them to participate, they don't count in those numbers. So when East, West, North, and Hendersonville are classified 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, they're using a number where those students are pulled out. Then there's the series that you see there, and again, you can read the ones that are listed. Again, I won't read them to you as you've had an opportunity to take a look at this. The questions that were posed, again, are the series of questions that are considered frequently when we talk about changes, about what those options should be, what are the mannerisms in which you would communicate expectations to that. The transportation piece when leaving for an early ball game, if you're looking in the middle right there, we have to talk about geography in Henderson County. If you're saying like, hey, I've got a ball game, I'm a JV basketball player and I've got a ball game at Franklin. Those students might be leaving at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, right? The college schedule necessarily doesn't apply in that respect. And so when you're off site, you have to think about the coordination, the logistics in that sport. What happens if we do that? What are the options? And then what are the unintended consequences? So I outlined that for you to try to just sort of capture in short the 30,000-foot view of what was discussed at that time. Be glad as a leadership team to address any of the points specifically, to give clarification about the things that are noted there, or to try to be responsive to any questions. And ultimately what we hope as the board might engage in discussion here is that if you were to direct staff to say, here's the information we need to make an informed decision, that you would let us know what that might be. Because ultimately, again, to have this conversation again is to make sure that you have every bit of understanding about what would be necessary actionably in order that we would provide whatever decision the board values for students. So I'll pause there. And again, I'm glad to go to any slides that you'd like me to talk about any of those bullets or answer any questions. But I wanted you to have kind of the 30,000-foot view of our discussions previously.
When we discussed this, I took notes on what we said and some other things. How will schools know if the student attended 2 periods so they can practice, because they've got to attend 2? Or the county rule, if a student's in ISS, they can't practice and they can't play. So how's that coordination going to happen? JV basketball team leaves at 2:30 for some of their games, and they wouldn't be getting out over there. Track sometimes leaves really early if they're going to Franklin or somewhere for a track invitational or something. Wrestlers leave, they go to Tennessee and wherever for wrestling matches, and they would be leaving early. And another one was, are we going to open this up for band to go back to the schools? Are we going to open it up for cheerleaders, journalism classes, strings? Basketball has around 10 to 15 away games, and JVs leave earlier than the regular team. The tryouts in the summer and early college has already started. Are we going to include the Career Academy in this also? And this sort of puts coaches in a bad position, because if the early college kids were late, then are we going to punish them like they would punish other kids who are coming to practice late? How will state athletics handle the qualification data that you mentioned of, how many kids can play at that school? And last time, I think we determined from Blue Ridge that they're not going to excuse kids for this. I think you talked to them. And this is a choice, we talk about kids having to make choices, and this is a choice. So those are some of the other things that we talked about last time and why we decided not to do it.
So I was a member on this committee when we discussed this before, and was very disappointed when we did not allow the Career Academy and the early college to play in sports. And I want us to kind of take a lens, like we're looking at the kid that has decided to go to early college and they want to add sports. That's one lens. But if you take the other lens, in middle school, you have an outstanding football or baseball player. They eat and sleep that sport. They're going to be a first generation college graduate, and they have to make this choice. We're slighting that child the option of being a first generation person to attend a college or to attend the career academy, in which they get their computer certification or automotive or whatever it is that we're offering there, because they choose to go to a traditional high school. Because that for a lot of kids will be like, I sleep with my football in my arms. I'm just not going to do it. And so I think that we're slighting a lot of kids that would choose a sport otherwise by not being able to attend the early college. In my opinion, it would definitely be opened up to cheerleaders and like marching band, anything that's after school. I think it just needs to be a given that this is your additional, your requirements are to go to your college classes. And if your professor is not going to excuse you, then you're just not going to go to the game. I mean, it is what it is. And if you decide to miss that class, you take the repercussions of that, that college professor. That's what you're choosing to do. Now, the career academy classes, we can control that. In traditional high schools, they miss them. But we don't restrict somebody because they struggle in high school. Okay, well, you're gonna miss a class, so if they meet the 2.0 requirement, they can play. We don't say, you might miss your last class because you have to travel from here to there. I think it's important that we implement this.
But you're back to making kids choose there when they have to decide whether to go to their class or not.
Life is all about
Right,
choices.
and and the
But
choice is that
why
they
would
do or
you-
do not go to early college, because this is fair for everybody.
It's not fair
It
for
is,
them.
It's
it
not
is.
fair
They
at all.
make the choices.
No.
Right.
But I'll say this, with Blair's child, he might not be able to, I'm just making things up.
He's
but
13 making that decision, right?
But he might not be able to get out at 1 to go to Franklin. But
Right.
you know what? He'll
Right.
still be able to go to college and still be able to be on the team and go to practice and go to maybe 95% of the stuff.
I think the intent
That's better than not.
of especially the early colleges that these are really high functioning kids to begin with, right? They've gone through a rigorous process to get accepted into the program. They understand what's required of them, the college courses and so forth. And I do believe that their college courses and their classes period should take precedent over whatever. But we're getting these kids back to their home schools if they're riding the bus by 3 o'clock so they can ride the bus that's at West, East, North, or Hendersonville home.
Yeah, but they
We're
leave
getting them
early,
there.
3 o'clock.
The early college releases their kids typically around 2:30, 2:25. That's when the school gets out. I just can't for the life of me understand why we would tell a kid just because you decided to take college classes you can't play a sport, or you can't be in band, or you can't be in the French club, or you can't do anything else. Because why? Because it's too hard for us.
Well, let me ask a couple questions. I'm all for kids having access to college courses, so I want to preface everything I say about this. But do we not still allow our students at the comprehensive high schools to be engaged in the College and Career Promise program, whereby they can go to the community college for part of the day? And we used to provide transportation morning, noon, and afternoon. Do we still do that?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay.
So that would be like a duly enrolled student
Right.
who's taking a CTE.
Through the College and
For
Career
3 of our
Promise.
high schools.
All of our high schools.
It's an option at all high schools.
And
Yes,
so
sir.
how does it work at Hendersonville High School when they have a 7-period day?
They would schedule accordingly based on their block.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And do we not have college instructors coming on our campuses to teach those college courses?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
All of our campuses, do we have that everywhere?
ma'am.
Okay. So You know, I was at the table when we designed the innovative high school, and I just want to say, you know, the key thing here is it's an innovative high school. It was never meant to mirror or mimic or be a small-scaled, comprehensive high school. Never meant to. It's on a community college. You know, are these kids all college ready? I would say no. But definitely the purpose was to engage first generation college goers with a lot of intentional support so that they are concurrently taking their high school courses and college courses so that at the end of the 5 years, and Larry, you've already said that, they can earn an associate's degree or a 2-year transfer. But you know, it's very intentional. It's for students who do not like the comprehensive setting because, you know, a lot of studies were out there at the inception of this concept that showed that we were losing students who did not thrive in a comprehensive setting. So it was intentional for it to be different. You know, I'm all about access to community college or university college courses online. I'm sure we have a lot of students doing that, don't we, Dr. Fry? Accessing, you know, through College and Career Promise. So if I'm a student and I want those extracurriculars and the band and the cheerleading and the athletics or things we don't even think about right now, then I think my access point to college courses is through that College and Career Promise program. You know, would we, I know this is kind of out there, but we mentioned a minute ago that some of the schools east and north don't have swim teams. So are we going to allow students from east and north who are interested in swimming to transfer to other schools to swim just because their schools don't have it? I mean, we can, you know, you have to draw the line somewhere. I personally think that the access is there for college courses. It's just in a different way. It may look a little bit differently. But again, where you go to school, and you need to have that sense of belonging to that school. And I know the Innovative High School has worked really hard to do clubs, and as far as I know, they can even participate in some of the college clubs. They pay student activity fees and those kinds of things. It's all about, you know, when I make that decision to be at the Innovative High School, I'm all in there. And that's where I want to be, and this is my focus, and I don't know that allowing or opening that door for students to go back is going to maintain the integrity of the Innovative High School. And I know that's just my one opinion, but you know, I would like to, it's been 2 years since we brought these groups together. I think we need to, you know, we've got different principals sitting in those positions, and I think it's something we need to look. I mean, I'm okay with looking at it. I just know I don't want to destroy the integrity and the intent of having an innovative high school that is a different program for to meet different needs of children.
I want to say something kind of, you know, your commitment has got to be the college. I mean, that's got to be first. And when you're weighing things, it's got to be so you don't have the integrity suffer. But you still should be able to, I mean, I still think you should be able to like play golf. I mean, but you can't have exceptions that say like, oh, well, they're leaving early, so you get to leave early. No. I mean, I think you need to have your commitment to this college, and the college says, this is what it is. You know, you can do most of what you can do, but not everything. And if you know that going into it, but don't ask in the middle to say, hey, look, we're going to Franklin, I'm getting out at 1, because you're not.
Yeah.
Right. It might be like 90%.
And I think we're talking right here about 200 of the 400 kids that go to that school, right? We're talking about the early college kids. Well, let's talk about the Career Academy kids for a second here, right? A lot of those kids could use a lot of sports in their life and could use, would love the ability to be able to take their welding class, their automotive class, but also play football. And I think we're denying that as well. And there are no barriers there with the college. It's like Amy said, we're coming up with the schedules. Just like every other school. I think, yes, there are hurdles, there are issues, just like everything else. But just to be like, nope, to me doesn't make sense. If any of the kids in this school system can make this work with their college classes, it's those 200 kids.
I think we should go back to principals and coaches and get some more opinions on this, because they're the ones that's going to be dealing with it. Some early college teachers, some Blue Ridge people. I think that's maybe what we need to go back to, John.
Well, certainly, if it's the wish of the board to pull together a similar group of people as we did before, to have a discussion around that would be, we'd be glad to do so, because again, what I said at the beginning is we want to make sure you have the informed position of not just the school staff and yourselves and your perspectives, but we're looking for direction from you as it relates to that.
But who are they going to be coming together and discussing with? You guys or with us?
Well,
too?
I think there's an opportunity for the board to be fully engaged in it, like in a
Yes.
workshop setting where not just one or two of you, but all of you. You hear all the perspectives. And when we start talking about stakeholders, we've mentioned students, we've mentioned families. Previously, we had a smaller circle of people that were involved in that, just school administrators and otherwise. But I think the board could have some discussion about how big what that group might look like. But in a workshop type setting, that the board on whole could be involved.
Yes.
I think we have to define extracurricular as well, because if we start talking about journalism, those are courses that they're taking within the day
Sure.
at their traditional high school. I can't see that.
Right,
possibly
that's not
working.
going
There's
to
going to be some band classes that are going to be the same way because
Right.
they're taken during the day, but
Right.
marching band's done after school. I know some schools you have to take jazz band to be in a marching band
Right.
or something along those lines, maybe.
Most
I
of
don't
the
know.
time you have to have a
Most of the
class
time,
during
right?
the day,
But
yeah.
I know I've had 2 or 3 of my wife's friends. Their kids really wanted to go to the early college, but she loves playing clarinet.
Right.
And so at a 13-year-old, we had to make her make that decision. You can play band or you can go to the
Play
school.
clarinet or not.
At 13, I think it's ridiculous. Absolutely.
And I don't know what other pros and cons or questions that we're going to come up with meeting again.
Well, I would like to hear what somebody else says. No, that's what I do as a living, is overcome objections. Let's hear what the objections are. I want to know why someone says that this can't be done.
Right.
Hear it.
I'm all for
I would,
that.
if I could preface, I want to certainly show respect to our staff. No one's saying it can't be done. I think what we're saying is you have to understand the implications of choosing to do so, whether that's changing the original intent, whether that's not understanding what the logistical challenges might be, or the new choices that are being created, right? As we're noting the choice, it has to be understood that students will then be making a very different choice, right? As to whether or not, hey, I'm going to miss that class and take on the responsibility of it or not, or participate in the athletics or otherwise. I think, again, the board has an opportunity to make sure that you have all of those pieces to the puzzle. We pride ourselves in getting it done, right? When we receive direction from the board on that's our responsibility. When we receive that direction, we just want to make sure you have the clear picture of what all of those elements are.
What gives me heartburn, though, is that mandatory practices is it August 1st?
Yes, ma'am. So fall sports open in August, and the early college is currently on a different calendar than the other, and those athletic practices and tryouts often are taking place at a time that those students are in school because they're allowed to, because we are not yet in session, as you saw bulleted there. That is one of the significant factors when you start talking about fall sport opportunities, because
For that 1 week.
yes, sir, potentially. And depending on, again, what happens with school calendar law and otherwise, those positions move. But it is a significant one right now when we talk about opportunities for those kids and what a tryout schedule might look like, or what a workout schedule or even a practice might look like. Yes, ma'am. Again, it's Mr. Caldwell wisely taught us, it's not the splash, it's the ripple, right? We have to make sure that we are working through all of those elements, and then again, giving the board information that allows you to make the best decisions possible for students.
But we're not talking about for this upcoming school year, correct?
Absolutely.
I was hoping we were.
Why not?
But those students have already made application to the early college.
So then why couldn't they
Why
play a
couldn't they
sport?
play sports if we allowed it?
But I didn't know I could do that. I may not have applied.
Sure.
It would be my professional opinion that a change in practice would require a transition period. Should the board choose to do so in 30 days' time, that would be communicating something very differently to students and families without any internal communication to do that. I understand the desire, but if we're talking about either pulling people together or making a change in decision, there certainly would have to be an implementation window for doing so. Or I think we put our students in the middle of an adult issue, and I don't think that's fair to kids.
It's not right.
Yeah, it's not right to let them play any sports this year.
No, it's not right that this decision wasn't made in the spring before applications came out for students and families
Sure.
to know.
Oh, you're
whole
talking about,
thing.
you're not talking about students at the early college playing sports. You're talking about kids
That are
who
at the
did,
other
that are at the
schools,
other schools.
Common.
Who
might
didn't
not
even
apply.
apply
Right,
because
right,
they didn't
right,
know
right. I
it
was looking at it the
optional.
other way. I was like, that's a
Right.
bonus. Why would it be
Right.
bad if
Right,
we let it?
right.
I get what you're saying, the other kids.
Well, sure.
They might
Yeah.
have applied had they
Yeah.
known that
But what if,
Right.
what if we had a discussion group and then, like made the decision, had the decision take effect mid-year, like second semester?
Again, I think there would have to be a deliberate conversation around informed communication. What we know we do well, we take the time to do well. And I think we would only commit to a timetable when we had that kind of conversation.
Yeah,
I think
you're
all
gonna have
this
to
is
set
just-
some, you're gonna have to set some sort of guidelines too, prior to entering that. And then you gotta look at the priorities too of your students. What's my priority? Do I wanna play football? Do I wanna play golf? Or do I wanna go advance myself, instructionally?
I like to do both, sir.
Yeah.
Be
What's wrong
nice.
with doing both?
Sometimes we can't do both.
I would love to know how many students.
In this
would
case,
be-
we can.
Yeah.
We can make the decision.
If we throw that out there, how many students are we talking about?
I think it's a hard number to predict for the two reasons you've just talked about. We
could
know
be
that there's a
small.
student population right now that might be a handful of kids. If the position changed, though, you're now recruiting a different group of kids.
Right.
And so I think that that's an important part of just acknowledging opportunity for everybody, that that number might grow if that changes. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But you would be talking probably about a small number because everybody made a choice now based on the current guidelines.
And I don't feel like, or at least for me, I can't push it off because, there were other kids that are decided to go to schools because last year they made that decision, the year before. We just have to do what we can do now and make the decision. I mean, if everybody's in agreement, I'd like to have whether it's a workshop with us and the, athletic directors and principals, assistant principals.
Can you pull that together by a July meeting?
I will do my very best.
So are you talking about the July workshop?
Yeah, in Millsbury.
The one note I would make there is it is summertime, and lots of people have already submitted for their vacations, and so it's one thing to do it within the calendar year when people are there, but I can't promise, in order that we get everybody and honor everybody's input and opportunity, I'd want some time to look at availability for everybody.
Well, and as far as, I know Blair's got a child going now, so it's like he wants a decision right now, and I understand that. I'm of the opinion that, we're trying to make a system better for the kids. So whether how I feel now is right or wrong, I might be wrong. I want to get more educated. So I think the only possible choice we have is to start going down this road and get whoever you can for the July meeting. And we might not come up with a solution for the July meeting, but let's go down
Let's
this,
start it.
start discussing this and see where it takes us.
Yeah, and in fairness to Blair, I think he was giving his son's situation as a hypothetical. I don't think he was saying, let's do this now
No,
because it
because I
affects
voted
my
for this in
kid.
2019 too.
Right, right. I mean, I just don't want it to be like, oh, now that his kid has to
No,
make the
I mean,
decision.
when the kid came to us and said he wanted to play soccer, and he knew what it took to
Yeah.
get to the school, and he
Right.
got a ride, and he did this, and he worked out all things. We're like, no,
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
it doesn't.
So let's just start discussing in July, the July meeting.
With that in mind, is the board comfortable if we look at the same date as the July workshop?
Yeah.
That we might work on that day and build something accordingly,
Yeah,
since
just
you already
put
have that
something in
time
there
reserved?
for us to discuss, and
Yeah, if you need us to come earlier or whatever.
6 a.m. I think is what time.
6
Hey, for these
a.m.
kids, I would do 6 a.m. and I
Amen.
don't do 6 a.m.
Amen. I'll put something together and we'll follow up with the board. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Next up is going to be the superintendent report. It's going to be Return to Learn update from Dr. John Bryant.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. And return to learn. It seems like that's a strange thing to be talking about right now on June 30th. But as this board well knows, we have two schools that open for in-person instruction on July the 8th. Our two year-round elementary schools, Bruce Drysdale Elementary School and Hendersonville Elementary School, will be open for returning to their flex calendar schedule at this time, remembering, and I like to remind the public, as we talked yesterday, that the board voted to delay the use of the flex calendar for 1 year and 1 year only, and so they are returning to the flex calendar schedule. Their workdays start for us on Monday of next week. So this slide deck, again, while much shorter this time, is very similar to one that we've seen before. We've always been talking about local health information, and what a pleasant trend this data is as it relates to our 7-day rolling average. This is the information that we've been sharing with the board from the Harvard Global Health Institute, specifically as it relates to June 28th, our most recent data. That 7-day rolling average is 0.4. As of today. So we remember it peaking, above 100 in our communities when we were talking about our school system operations, but as it relates to its trend data right now, you can see where that community health is. DHHS continues to report a county alert system report. You see where we were as of June 10th. That has us in that low area green. Again, green meaning very good on this particular report, that 14-day percent positive is 1.3%. Again, Henderson County among the lowest in the state right now, just recently released as of June 24th. What does that mean for the current operations? We know that we have summer learning taking place across the school system. Dr. Fry will be sharing some awesome information with you as it relates to summer learning. We've got about 2,000 students who are participating in that across the school system. But currently, the extension or Governor's Executive Order 220 extended Order 215, which does apply to school systems. You have heard frequently about the question as it relates to face covering requirements and how that relates to public institutions specifically. Schools fall under that in indoor settings, currently in indoor settings only right now. So face coverings are not required in outdoor settings. They are not required in administrative facilities. They are not required in athletic events or extracurricular activities or in an outdoor setting. They are required for staff, students, visitors, and all persons on site when school is scheduled for students to be in session. What's significant about this particular piece, and you heard it referenced earlier today, is Senate Bill 173 as it relates to the Free Smiles Act, which would grant local boards the authority to determine the use of face coverings in the upcoming school year for 2021-2022. It does have a provision in there that would allow the governor to continue to require masks for an individual school setting, should it be so determined, but it does not permit a statewide mask mandate for all schools. As of the time of the construction of this slide, June 28th, Senate Bill 173 had passed the House 6644. It was scheduled, it was put on the calendar for today in the Senate as it related to that. It's not yet law. But ultimately what that does is it would grant you, the Board of Education, the authority to make that determination. Right now, we are under the direct guidance of the Strong Schools Toolkit, what you have seen and heard from me since July of 2020 as it relates to that, and the governor's current executive order, which relates to that. Senate Bill 173 would grant you the authority to make that decision individually. Did you have a question?
Well, I was
Mr.
going to
Eagle?
say, so what if we just decided to say, oh, you know what, we're going to just go on our own, and we're going to ignore what the Safe School Toolkit says, and what would happen?
You're looking at the wrong guy. There's your
But
attorney right
tell
there.
me-
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Tell me, and whoever is listening, what could possibly happen if we choose to ignore
If I was able to answer that kind of question directly, I would be in the stock market. I would not be a school attorney. So let's go back and do a little history lesson because I think it's important to put it all in context. So the General Assembly of North Carolina has passed a emergency Declaration of Emergencies Act, which allows the governor to declare emergencies. That's one of the acts that's used to change your open meetings laws and things like that. So the legislature has recognized the ability of the governor in a given circumstance to declare emergency. I don't think there's a news flash there. Last year, two things happened with that, or at the beginning of the pandemic. One is the lieutenant governor challenged the authority of the governor to pass certain executive orders under the Emergency Powers Act, and that lawsuit, he went for a injunction, and the judge found that that was not likely to succeed on the merits, and the lieutenant governor dismissed that lawsuit. Then the General Assembly passed a law for last school year that actually said you will follow the guidance from the Department of Health and Human Services, and that's who publishes this toolkit. So last school year, we were under a legislative mandate to actually follow the toolkit and what is in there from DHHS. This coming school year will be a new ballgame, and there are not clear pronouncements yet other than where the governor is right now on the executive order, which is subject to change. This particular act, there was a committee substitute in the House. That's what passed the House. It went back to the Senate today, and this afternoon the Senate did not concur in the House version. So I just checked the General Assembly's website while we've been meeting. So that means it's not law yet. So the direct answer to your question is the Senate may still, the legislature may still give you the ability to make this decision, but they haven't done that yet. So as your attorney, my advice is pretty straightforward. If the General Assembly is about to tell you whether or not you can make the decision and how you can make the decision, the ultimate authority in the state of North Carolina is the General Assembly. So my advice would be very clearly to wait until the General Assembly gives you authority so that you see what that authority is. If ultimately they don't give you authority and you want to go against what the governor has pronounced, that's like any other legal question. I'd have to look at what you did. I'd have to look at what the governor actually passed, and we'd go into closed session to discuss it as attorney-client. So right now, there is not a pronouncement on who will make that decision for next school year. There's a good chance that the General Assembly may give it to you. And so as we sit here on June 30th, my advice would be wait and see what the General Assembly does before you make a final decision.
And let's say the Senate passed it today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, had they passed it today.
But then the governor still has to sign it.
The governor still has to sign it.
So when would that occur?
It could be the governor can either let it sit on his desk for 10 days and it becomes law, or veto it, and then it's subject to a veto override. So you're right.
The clock starts today if it was passed today.
Had it passed, yes, but it did not pass today.
That's right.
Right.
So Harnett County in North Carolina, their school board decided to go against the governor, lift the mask mandate for their summer school sessions. And I'm guessing for the year-round schools, which are starting next week or the week after, if they have them. Talk to us about if we make a decision like that, what type of liability are we opening ourselves up to? What type of liability are we opening up the superintendent, the school system? What repercussions could come from that?
Well, I often get asked the question, well, can you be sued? And in the United States of America, the answer is always yes. The harder question to answer is it a valid lawsuit? And what would the outcome of the lawsuit would be? And again, that depends on the specific facts of the lawsuit. Frankly, it depends on the judge. It depends on the composition of the appellate panel. These are very difficult questions that we've never had to face. These are constitutional type issues. And it actually takes a court decision and a panel of judges to give us an answer. With all due respect to myself, it almost doesn't matter what my opinion is because I'm not a judge.
Right.
So I have to start there and preface it with that. The typical way that a governmental body would be sued and asked to follow the law would be through a mandamus, some type of action that would be filed to compel you to follow the law. So that's usually step number one. It's not personal liability. It is against the board, individual members of the board to actually comply with the law. Someone would actually need to bring that lawsuit. So that's typically the way that happened. The other issue, though, on the flip side of that coin that I just think you need to be thinking about, again, wanting to know more detail, if you were in a situation in which you said that face coverings were not required at all, then the governor has said they must be required, then an additional question, which is legal but is administrative as well, is, well, what does that mean to the group of parents that then want remote education because they're not comfortable with you not having a face covering? And their argument would be to you, you're in violation of the law. So don't tell me it's my problem if I prefer face coverings when you're not following what the governor has said and the General Assembly has not given you the ability to make that question, that determination. That's a great question. I don't have an answer to that. So you could be sued potentially by individual parents wanting remote education, and their argument would be, you're not following the law, so this is not our issue, it's your issue.
But
So there's a lot of...
we're not going to require that kids, cannot wear a face covering at all. If face coverings work and their parents feel like that they work and they want them, they have the option to send their child in a face covering.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to mandate a medical decision for children that aren't my children. Like, I wouldn't mandate that they get a vaccine because it's not my kid. This is a personal decision. I just think we could make it optional.
Right. And I don't have any problem with anything you've just said. And a good lawyer also knows when to be quiet. This is a policy decision that you need to make. But I think that you clearly see what the legal landscape is. The General Assembly might be on the verge of giving you this clear power. In the absence of the clear power, sure, there could be lawsuits from those areas to mandate you at that point.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to pause here or continue with the slide deck and let you come back to this?
Yeah, continue.
Continue? Okay. So as it relates to that, again, the toolkit still does have operational flexibility within that schools have the operational decision-making authority to implement health requirements as it relates to that, maintaining plans for different scenarios. If we've learned anything over the last 16 months, we have to be ready to do anything at any time. School boards do have the authority to make the day-to-day decisions regarding individual schools and classrooms and what that instruction looks like as it relates to any COVID-19 exposures or otherwise. And then ultimately, I will just share with you, as we've talked about many, many times, every plan right now is fluid. We are talking about an August 23 start date for 22 of our schools. We are talking about a July start date for 2 of them. And as Mr. Campbell has mentioned, what happens at the General Assembly may affect that going together. And I'll just touch on one element of Senate Bill 173. It does explicitly state that if it were to become law, that you have to have a meeting and make a decision about whether or not face coverings are required in this school system before August 1st, like on or before. So, and then depending on what decision you make, you may have to take that question up every other time. So it's not only just that it might empower you to make that decision, you legally will have to come together in order to have that conversation.
Do that today, or we have to do it after?
Wait till that.
As Mr. Campbell was saying,
It's
if it were
by
to
August
become
1st,
law, if
yeah.
it were to pass, then the Board of Education would have a responsibility to come together and make a decision based on
We can't
this.
say tonight, if it passes, this is how the board votes.
Oh, you can certainly, at any time, the board is free to express its intentions. So that would not be an inappropriate motion to say that if we are given the authority by the General Assembly to make this decision, this is how I intend to vote, and would want to have a motion to see if a majority would support that. Again, that doesn't bind you to the ultimate vote. It's simply a vote that expresses the intention and the desire of the board.
That law were to pass, I would definitely call a meeting within 48 hours. And have an emergency meeting on that. I guess the question from here is where do we go from here? You know, two of my kids, a couple of Amy's kids start school in 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, something like that. Got kids at summer school with masks on, but they can walk out and they can go to Team Echo without them. Doesn't make much good sense to me, but yeah.
I agree. I don't feel like it's an emergency order where our county is clearly not under an emergency. We're in green. I mean, and we have no masks anywhere in our county except for in our schools, in doctor's offices or transportation, our medical, yeah, medical offices and yeah, public transportation. I feel like that number one, if we were to vote on this today to remove or make masks optional, we have a lower population of our children that are in summer school. So we would know if it's having adverse effects before doing it with 13,000 children and then with the addition of the year-round school. It's not law. Masks are not law. And Harnett County did this quite a few weeks ago, and they've heard crickets, and their kids are going to school without masks. And I think that's a parent's decision. It's not the governor's decision.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Well, I was gonna say, I wish we could vote because, and I know we can. I know.
No, you can always bring a motion.
No,
to the
no,
floor.
And I'm not anti-mask, and I'm not pro-mask, but it's just so important to me that we have choices. I mean, we live in America, and we're raising our kids, and we're always telling them, make the right choice, make the right decision, use your judgment. I mean, I say that like too many times every single day to my kids. But I'm always trying to say, hey, what do you think? Did you do this right? Did you handle it? So we're always promoting using your head. And on this, I mean, I'm just saying, let people choose. Let them choose to get a vaccine. Let them choose to wear a mask. Let them choose to go to a school and play sports. That's the world and the country that we live in. And we need to have everybody have the ability to make a choice on where to wear a mask or not wear a mask. And if you're scared of getting the disease, then get the vaccine. And if you don't get the vaccine, then don't tell me you're scared of getting the disease, and don't get the vaccine and say I can still get the disease. I mean, you can, but it's just like so remote of being in the hospital and dying. So I'm just like, okay, if you're that worried about it, get the vaccine. But otherwise, let the parents, the students, everybody choose. Wear the mask, don't wear the mask. Vaccine, no vaccine. Come to school and play golf.
May I ask a question? Speaking of choices, have we talked about, will there be a virtual option for parents and families? I mean, we haven't even talked about that yet either.
At this time, what we've communicated is that there will not. No, ma'am. It is
in the paper today.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. It is our intent to operate face-to-face instruction for all students. That's right. And I think to Mr. Campbell's point, if it were the board's pleasure, similar to what we did when Plan A became an option for middle and high schools, the board took a position that was, as soon as it is permissible for us to choose to do so, we intend to come together and vote on X. And we did that when the General Assembly gave the board the authority to make that decision. And so, as Mr. Campbell had mentioned, if the board wished today to say a similar thing, I think that would be a message that could be communicated to our community and to our families and our parents about what the board's position on this is, should something like Senate Bill 173 pass.
So moved.
I can't make a motion. Thank you.
I know.
Any other comments?
If we did an emergency meeting, Blair, would
Yes,
we
ma'am.
be able to have a virtual
Option?
kind of option?
Yeah, if
for people being out of town or whatever.
yeah, we have part of our policy that we would be able to do
Would
that.
we be-
that-
okay.
Yes. Being that it's an emergency, it's not. Yes, you would be able to jump on there online.
I mean, since this is currently on the floor of the NC Senate, it just seems, I don't want to be like Lord of the Flies. And I mean, we elect these people, You know, we elect them, and it basically says that whatever you say is meaningless to me because I'm going to make a decision today. I mean, I think we could call an emergency meeting pretty quickly. Obviously, this is happening.
And we've been doing this for a year and a half, calling quick meetings.
Right.
I think the real question is what happens if it doesn't pass? What happens if Cooper vetoes it and it's veto proof, or they don't have enough votes in the House in the Senate to override a veto, and then we're right back here in a couple of we got a workshop and then we've got an August 9th meeting. Then you're gonna have to make a decision.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, I'm one of the most ardent supporters of having a choice, but I do not feel comfortable going against the governor. And I want everybody that's listening to this or hearing this or seeing this or whatever, I'm just not comfortable putting all of us in a position where we could be sued. So I'm going to say that right now for everybody to hear.
I agree with you, Jay.
I agree.
But just to answer your question, but we can always vote. And
So, just to reiterate, my intention, if we're done with this discussion, is to call an emergency meeting 48 hours from the moment that this passes. And then we will discuss and we will vote on whether to make that optional or not. Unless I hear some other motion or something else coming out of somebody's mouth in the next 10 seconds, we're moving on.
Well, I'm ready to make a motion.
I'll second.
I move that we make masks optional and let our parents make the decision for their children to wear them. It's optional. If they want them to wear them, they can. If they don't have to.
Do I have a second?
I can't amend that second.
All right, discussion.
Well, I think, do you mean to say that if the governor says it's okay, or do you mean to say that?
No, like right now, we're not in an emergency situation. Our hospitals are not full. We're in the green. We have, what was it again? 0.4.
But regardless, the law is the law.
It's not a law.
But if I understood that correctly, you were saying that we would put ourselves in a position if we removed masks without the governor issuing that.
Or Senate bill passing, yes.
Yes, we might be in a position where we could be sued.
Absolutely.
Isn't that what you said?
In a position where you could be sued, yes.
Okay.
I'm not willing to take that
I
kind
can't
of
vote
time.
for that.
So did you second that or not? Because I thought I heard a second.
Mr. Chairman, I believe he did second
did
it
second
for
that
purposes
motion.
of discussion, right? So, and then the board too, so you can,
So
Then
we can do a vote. Do a vote. I'll call on each one of you, and you can vote yes or you can vote no on Amy's motion. Does that suit the board?
Sir?
Mr. Bridges,
Yes.
Ms. Case.
instead of having an emergency meeting.
The motion on the floor is to make mask optional today. That would apply to summer school. That would apply to teachers. That would apply to school next week.
No, I want an emergency meeting.
Mrs. Holt,
Absolutely, 100% yes.
Mr. Egolf,
I'm not going to put myself in that position. No.
No.
Ms. Caskey,
No.
and I'm a no as
But I
well.
would like to make another-
Hold on 1 second. That vote does not pass by 2 to 4. Please don't interrupt our meeting. Thank you. Your question, please, sir.
I just do not feel comfortable telling people I'm not going to put myself in that position. But can we say that if the governor or that bill comes out and it's approved and the governor makes a recommendation that we don't have to have an emergency, let's do it right here. We're here right now. We're all discussing this. Let's vote now.
I think for me, I need to know what I'm voting on because they're
Whether
getting
the
ready to
kids
change.
are wearing a mask or not.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot more in Senate Bill 173 than just the masks. There's always more that's in there. I mean, if you want to make a motion, I will accept a motion, but my comfortability revolves around when there's a law made. I will make and I will bring us together within 48 hours as required by law, and we will sit here and we will discuss the merits of whatever laws on the table, and we'll vote.
I'm more comfortable with that.
Does that suit you?
I'm
right.
okay with that, yes. That way we can make a better informed decision.
All right. Amy's motion failed, and we are going to move on from this point. Next up is going to be a
Wait,
construction. Yes,
can
ma'am.
I ask another question for return to learn?
Sure.
Dr. Bryant, are you aware of any, anything we're involved in with, like promoting vaccines in our schools or, any of, I guess, what was heard at the health department?
No, we had been in discussions about an education and informational campaign with the health department, but we also heard loud and clear from the Board of Commissioners as it related to their expectations associated with that. And right now, we are not moving forward with anything to that effect.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
No, that's it.
Thank you. Construction update.
Yes, good evening,
Carl
board members. Excited to be able to give you an update on our two main projects currently going on at Hendersonville High School and Rugby Middle School. And so where I left off,
Hold on a second, please.
I know how to clear a room.
All right, go ahead. Continue on. Thank you.
All right. So where I left off last month with the Hendersonville High School project was giving you a brief explanation on the process of moving out of the Stillwell and the vocational buildings. And so pleased to be able to share with you tonight that that part of the process is completed. And really that is I would be remiss not to thank the parties that really made that happen. And that really starts with the Hendersonville High School staff and administration. They really took on a tall order of getting everything boxed up, packed up, and ready for movers. And so they were given that date of June 7th as the date to have everything ready for movers to come in. And that was 5 days after the last student day. So not only were they closing up in a normal fashion, but also they had to pack up. Also really want to thank Kent Parent, Martin Ballard, our entire maintenance department, our technology department as well, as they had to go into that space and do a lot of clearing out of things that were worth saving, whether that be door locks, wiring. And so that was a tall order for all of those individuals to go in there and make that happen so that the demo crew could get in there at the time that Vinoy had determined. So as we now start looking at some pictures of the demo work, these are pictures from last week. So you can see there on the left, the auditorium, what that looked like as of last week, and then on the right, the vocational building. The vocational building is entirely down at this point in time. And so they are removing that debris by the dump truck load, and that will take about a week for them to be able to remove all of that debris.
So
Go ahead.
the inside of I guess in my mind, I was mistaken on what was going to happen in there. It's totally cleared out.
Oh, yeah. Because they're making the rooms bigger. They're making some different sizes. Yeah, it's going to look different. Awesome.
I didn't know we were going like,
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
exciting.
I think that was the main part of us doing this. It was.
Did I say auditorium or did I say Stillwell building?
I think you said still.
Okay, auditorium, I'm sorry. The auditorium. That's the auditorium on the left, right?
Well, the auditorium's in the Stillwell.
Wait,
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
I was just there like 2 weeks ago
And it
for
didn't look like
graduation.
that.
I know, that's
No,
super
I mean,
exciting.
I think that's the point that we kind of wanted to make is we wanted to renovate that space and keep it
Yeah.
and use it for another 100 years. And
I didn't know it was going to be that
sorry, I'm
renovated,
stopping
though.
your pictures, man, but this thing
You're fine.
is so awesome, man.
I know, it's so exciting.
I'm so happy about this.
You can slow it down anytime you want.
All right.
Then here are some other photos of inside Stillwell. They've started up on the third floor of demoing that building as well. And so not quite as maybe impressive as the other two photos were in terms of the flooring being removed and starting to open up and move some things out.
And that entrance.
Yes, and then as we transition to the new building and that entrance, again, these are pictures from last week. So if you drive by there after you leave this evening, you will see that is all now paved. Lines are marked, as well as the area down Oakland Street where the buses will also pull off.
I noticed that there's a lip there. Are they going to, on the asphalt where the buses come out? if you ride by there right now, it's probably like a 2-3 inch lip. Are they going to redo that road right there, or how are they going to make that a little bit of a smoother transition?
So the lip from Oakland to the parking area?
Bearcat, well, no. Yeah, Oakland to the parking area. Yeah, there's a lip for the bus pullout. You'll see, if you ride
Yes,
by, you'll see what
I'll
I'm
make a note of
talking
that and
about.
take a look and see what.
I didn't know if they were going to, because typically what you do is you take a piece out and kind of smooth it in there and make it one transitionary piece, but I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Then as we move inside the building, again, this month is all about the finishing touches within that new building and getting it ready to open up in August. And so in terms of when we think about the second floor area, there above the receptionist and office area, flooring is going in on the second floor. As soon as they get that finished, they'll be moving down into the first floor. Again, these are pictures of last week where they were working there in the receptionist area and getting that ceiling grid in as well.
So, furniture, FF&E for in that building, where are we at there?
In the process of getting it scheduled for delivery so that it'll all be set up and ready
So we
to
got
go.
to rush that, right? That delivery is supposed to be in December. We're going to be ready to rock and roll by the 23rd.
That is my understanding. So what Mr. Parent does is deliveries are coming in, whether it's classroom furniture, equipment for the kitchen, it doesn't matter. He coordinates those delivery dates with Vinoy to make sure that they're prepared for them to come in.
Can you talk to us about, you demoed the V building. What's up with the thing
Press
behind
box?
it, press box?
If you drive by,
I got it.
It's up there.
As I drove by this afternoon, it is gone. And
It's
so
gone.
It is gone. And so we're in the process of
So the bed
coming up.
alt is, we have to add one because it couldn't stand up, right?
There will have to be a new one constructed. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they've already proved that.
Okay.
As we transition to the other project there at Rugby Middle School with the secure entry renovation, this is the new main visitor entrance into the office area there at Rugby. So as you can barely see those blue doors to the left of it, that's the old entrance, where you had to go through the stairwell to then get to the office. You had to go through a hallway. And so now those stairs will take you into door where you have to be buzzed in order to enter to the receptionist area. And so that's the only area that you have access to when you enter into those doors. To go into the office suite or to go into the hallway where students are located, you also have to be buzzed into those areas as well.
So will
A
the
handicap.
old entrance doors become windows or?
I believe the plan right now is for them to remain doors.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
The handicap entrance will still remain to the left of those blue doors. They will not be able to go in through that way.
We don't have that kind of money.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that a while ago, and it just wasn't.
Is there a ramp being built? in that?
Not into that entrance. So there is handicap accessibility to the left of those blue doors, and so that will remain the entry point if needed. There's still going to be the buzzer system at that door to where those visitors and guests can still buzz into the office and be admitted into the school properly.
So if like a handicapped parent is coming in for a conference or whatever in the middle of the day, there'll be a buzzer at the handicapped entrance where they can say, I need to be let in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Once you go into those doors, again, that's the receptionist area, and then behind it, still looking out to that front parking lot, is the administrative suite. And so on the left there, you can kind of see the makeup of the assistant principal and principal offices. Again, those face the front parking lot. There is a common area there in the center of the room, as well as staff restrooms, staff workroom space, and then a couple of other offices as
Nice.
well. So that is now all located at the front of the building. Where the old office area used to be located is now going to be turned into an art room. And so here you can see the initial construction of that space. So that'll be a nice, large, open space for that art classroom. All right, so at this time I will take any questions that you may have.
Upward? Where are we at?
We are waiting on the finalization of the property transfer with the VFW, the survey work that we're doing,
Okay.
and then the upward project will be able to be greenlit from there.
Okay. I think the next big thing that this board's going to end up talking about as it relates to Harrisville High School is the football field, the track, all the other things that go with that. I know PFA and the county commissioners have authorized PFA and Vinoy to start bidding that stuff out. So we'll start seeing that hopefully in the next week.
Yes, sir. They're not bidding it, they're pricing it.
Pricing
So
it,
essentially
pricing
what
it.
they're planning to do is to give a scope of opportunity for this board to consider and the Board of Commissioners to consider about what would be done in there. Just as a quick refresher for the new board members, when the construction project began, the Board of Commissioners committed to the turf and the track whenever the project was finished, because that's the work that's been done at the three other high schools. So North, West, and East all received new turf and rubberized tracks. And they said, we will do that same work at Hendersonville as soon as the construction doesn't impact it. So now they're looking at the full scope of that project because it's a unique condition. And so as soon as we have those, they'll take that into advisement and we'll share that with the Board of Education as well.
So what did you say about upward? We're waiting on what?
Right now, the upward project, it was contingent on the add alternates that we were hoping to add associated with the project. So the bid price that came back to us was greater than the amount that was budgeted in MRTS.
Right.
And so one of the agreements with the Board of Commissioners is after the sale of the VFW property from the Edwards, that's the differential in the upward project. And so we're looking forward to moving that forward as soon as that property is finished.
So we basically have to wait to sell the VFW parking lot to get the extra cash to be able to finish upward because prices have gone up.
Okay.
And they won't release the cash until all that's done. So that's why we kind of took over the work of what am I thinking
We're just
of
trying to
there?
finish the survey work so that
Survey
we can
work.
parse out the land, because again, part of the Edwards Park property is going to the city. The portion that is the VFW parking lot, if you will, is going to the county based on their conversation. So it's just kind of an order of operations thing. Mr. Taylor was the math teacher, not me, but we've got to get that. We got to solve for X first.
Sure would have
Yes.
been nice to do that over the summer.
Well,
I'll just stop there.
thank
All
you,
right.
sir.
Thank you.
Equity update, Dr. Wendy Fry.
Hello.
Hey.
It is my pleasure to speak with you tonight about something near and dear to all of our hearts. As you know, equity updates can come in many different forms, and the one I want to share with you tonight is the one about removal of barriers and creating equitable opportunities for all students. Take a look at this student in this picture. Is that not pure joy? Every group that I have shared this picture with says, is that a stock photo? That's one of our students. That is a Flat Rock Middle School student who is studying macroinvertebrates as part of a water quality field investigation. And look at the joy on his face. Makes me smile every time I see it. Teachers, administrators, instructional services staff, leadership team spent months, as you know, in preparation for summer learning. But one person in this room started planning summer learning about 12 years ago. So I was looking through something in my office, and I found this folder, and I thought,
But
I
we
would-
never throw anything out, Dr. Revis.
We renovate the building.
So I thought I would recognize this handwriting anywhere. Do you remember this, Dr. Revis?
Well,
Says-
to tell you, I remember it, I would be telling a lie, but I'm
Summer.
sure I never threw anything away.
It says summer learning. It was a lit review that she did as part of her doctoral work.
That's so cool.
Now this will give you
I think
chills.
it was a report this board wanted to hear
Ooh,
at some point. Yeah, about
that's-
summer learning loss.
Okay, that is even more interesting. Okay. One of the quotes from her lit review said, we find that cumulative achievement, I know you can read better than I can, but this is just so powerful. Over the first 9 years of school can be traced to differential summer learning over the elementary years. Okay, but how about this one? While summer programs should have an academic focus on literacy skills, look what else they should incorporate.
Yep.
So, that is what we have sought to do. Do you remember that? I'm guessing it was about 2009. Dr. Revis, that sound about right?
That's when I was reading this, I saw those and I was like, oh wow, they found some stuff that goes with our summer learning, but this was found 12 years ago.
She did.
That's so
She did.
crazy.
Yes.
And we were doing the Voyager program, a lot of hands-on
Yes.
exploration then.
Yeah.
And then we've
Yeah.
kind of faded on summer programs. So.
Yes. So we have known for quite some time what would create a robust summer program. And we've always had summer programs. But this year, for the first time ever, we had the funds, thanks to ESSER funding, to
Yeah.
put behind this to make it what we truly knew that it should be. So thank you. I have found great comfort from her voice from the past as we have worked on this program. So thank you, Dr. Revis. So as Dr. Bryant mentioned earlier, we have had almost 2,000 students participating in summer learning.
Only 22 seniors, though, huh?
So we had only 22 seniors who needed to come back and finish up some credits.
Credit recovery?
Yes, sir. It's a credit recovery
Is
model.
that a super
in
low
high
number
school.
compared to like most years?
I was very pleased with that number. No, typically we don't have a high number of seniors. Usually by the time they get to their senior year, they'll buckle
figure it out
down
real
and get
quick?
it done. Excuse me? Oh, yeah, try to figure it
real
out real quick. Yes, that's a better way to put it.
Mama
So-
figures it out.
Right.
As you know, we had a law about this, and here's what the law said. It prescribed the time that we had to have physical activity, the required academic content. We provided transportation. We would have done these things anyway, right? But these were the parameters that we had to use to plan the program. These are the reporting requirements that we have a responsibility to provide at the end of summer learning. But the law also used a word that, Mr. Campbell, we don't typically see in laws, do we? It had the word fun. The law said we had to have
No
fun.
attorneys ever said fun. Ever.
They aren't fun.
So,
To win a case.
Mr. Campbell is fun. So that's what we're doing. So take a look. I just want you to enjoy. As a board, you have supported the most robust summer learning program that we have been able to provide. And I want you to enjoy the joy that you're seeing on these students' faces while they are learning.
We
For
should,
many of these students, it was the first time they had ever been to our local bowling alley. On the right, on my right, we have a student. Zaniac is one of our community partners. I'll show you the entire list in just a minute. In the middle, we have a group of students who hiked Carl Sandburg. I want you to see if you recognize the big kid on the right, on my right in the picture. Happens to be their new principal.
Is that Katie?
Katie Bradley. Yes, yes, I love
She
that
looks
picture.
like she's a student.
Right in the middle, yes, right there with them. Here are our amazing community partners who have already begun to support summer learning and who continue to do so. I just cannot say enough kind words about them. Take a look at these pictures.
Milking a cow.
Milking it, yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. I want to tell you a little bit more about that picture on the left in just a minute when I show you another picture. Johnson Farm, some bridge building, the bottom left.
Ah.
Bullington has been a wonderful partner. That John Murphy, he's a teacher at heart.
Mm-hmm.
Mandy at Johnson Farm, oh my goodness, just right in the middle, driving the tractor. Yeah.
She's been good.
She has been amazing.
Great.
And we've done some water safety in summer learning. That is actually one of our teachers from Flat Rock Middle School doing some water safety. We're doing a lot of water quality studying. River Link has been a partner, and then some of our teachers are promoting that type of study. The Riveter, our students are doing some climbing wall activities, and again, for many of them, it's the first time they've had this kind of experience before. And we're reading actual books in that top left-hand corner. Yeah, we are reading books and
Oh, they have to
liking
do
it.
work?
But look, they look happy.
Yeah.
This is my favorite picture. I call this "The Struggle is Real." So this is a small robot that can be designed to do lots of different things. Dash, dot, something else. Right, guys? Yeah. Anyway, it can do all kinds of things. But look at the little girl's picture in the middle.
Uh-huh.
She is really focused. Yeah. Productive struggle we have also promoted in summer learning. More pictures. Pisgah Forest Gem Mine, that's been a big hit as well. So, we do have those different items that we're reporting to DPI, but we want to know more because we don't want this to be the last robust summer learning program. And maybe even as our goal, we can begin transitioning to an acceleration model. And in fact, we're doing some of that already. We have some teachers, for example, we have many fifth grade teachers teaching the fourth grade summer learning students because they know where they need to be to start fifth grade. We have a lot of that going on. We are working with Hanover Research. We've already met with them to talk about the questions that we want them to ask our stakeholders so we know the kind of job we've done and how we need to change it and modify it to make it even better next year. It's just been a true joy, and I really appreciate your support.
But Wendy, this kind of robust program does not happen by just chance. It's taken your leadership and your team and the principals, and I don't know who else you've had together. I mean, this is a lot of work to coordinate these rich experiences. So I appreciate
And the
this.
teachers working their summers. And
Yeah.
Working their summers.
Bus drivers to get them there.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Kitchen workers to feed them.
It has taken.
So big clues is transportation.
Yes, ma'am.
Getting the kids there.
Yes, ma'am.
So the reporting requirements, is that something that position Dr. Wilson is feeling that's going to kind of help with that?
She will certainly help with that. Where I see Dr. Wilson bringing her true magic is in helping our principals make meaning of all this rich data, all these data points we have, and working with principals to identify where those subgroups are, those pockets that we really need to pay careful attention to. That will be where she will do the most good for us, I believe.
So can we get a report going forward, in the months to come, like how much this cost, I don't know, maybe per child or whatever, an average, so that we know going forward. I know that we're going to have some ESSER funds coming for a couple of years, but I would be curious, we're not going to get it at the federal level forever, so that we can maybe talk to our state constituents about, it was whatever, $200 per child, that type of a thing, so that maybe we can get, because we can't just have summer school every year because we want it. We got to have the funds for everything entailed in that. So, I'd be curious as to kids that were struggling, what we saw with them, which I'm sure this is part of all this reporting, but then the funds that it takes so that we can, as local leaders, have those conversations at the state level.
Absolutely, we can, and we will do that. Yes. Did I mention that we have the best teachers ever? Take a look at this picture. I want to tell you a little bit about it. This is Kim Maltby and Aaron Statura from Mills River Elementary. They were finishing up a unit on soil, and they made mud. Delicious mud.
Delicious mud.
But then,
I teach for you for that.
But then I thought, well, it wouldn't be fair just for the teachers and the students to be having fun, right? I mean, you are the school board.
Did you bring us?
May I have a little help from my friends?
Cupcakes.
Yeah, it is. Actually, for everyone's persistence, I believe there are enough for everyone in the room
Well,
who would like to
can we-
partake. Yes.
I don't want to eat in front of all these people watching.
I actually think, oh, and you don't have to. We'll put them over on the
Okay,
table.
perfect.
How's that?
That'd be perfect.
And, the teachers had fun too. I've heard so many teachers saying, I didn't know it was going to be this. I
Oh,
signed up
that's
for all the weeks or
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
I'm
and
glad
they
to hear
said-
you say that.
Yeah.
That's I've heard that as well.
So, Dr. Fry, are students going to have to take any kind of assessment at the end
Oh, yes.
of summer programming?
Okay, so yes, thank you for asking that. And the state has required that to be one of our data points. But the great news is we're allowed to use a program that we've already been using, so it is very familiar to our families. iReady has served actually our end of year iReady test. We have been given permission to use that as the pre-test for summer learning, so we didn't welcome students into summer learning with an assessment. At the end of summer learning, we will give them an iReady assessment in reading and math to measure how much they have grown during that time period, and it will just seem so familiar to them and
That
families.
K through 8?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So are high schoolers and or middle schoolers going and doing all this fun too, or is it different for them?
Well, the middle schoolers, they've all been given the opportunity. What we have found is, yes, middle schools are. For the most part, our high school students really just want to get in and out and get that credit recovery, finish what they need to, and go on about their business, their jobs, and other things. Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. We
Appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Before Dr. Fry steps away, I'm going to ask, you touched on it right at the beginning, but if you haven't seen the newspaper today, it is significant. Who you have in instructional leadership here is one of those individuals who, as you said, this does not happen by accident.
Shark whisperer.
Absolutely. What it really is an evidence is if you're going to lead instruction, our most important work, what you just saw is our most important
Absolutely.
work, right? You have to be all in. You got to be all in. And so Matthew's going to put on the screen
Oh,
for you right here.
There it is.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to just show you a little picture here. Yes, she's in the paper today, but Dr. Fry actually trained to be present while our students were near the Shark Tank at Team Echo, one of our community partners.
And isn't that one of our graduates besides
That is
you?
a Hendersonville High School senior who's just recently graduated. You're exactly right. Kinsley, who's next to him.
What do we say? Way to
Yeah, that's right.
Kinsley. Okay. How was it?
It was great. It was easier today.
Yeah. A little more relaxed, kind of knew what to expect a little bit.
All the difference to have.
I want to let you down.
Yeah.
You see them all swimming around Dr. Fry's
I
feet.
know.
But what you need to know is it takes a tremendous amount of courage and commitment and just absolute, like you just talking about being all in, like what she showed those kids. She's on a first name basis with second graders from Clear Creek Elementary School. But she said, I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to lead with passion. I'm going to lead with purpose. And so when you see her sharing those slides, again, this work, this effectiveness is really a credit to Dr. Fry. And so we certainly want to celebrate that leadership in that space.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
She will be doing scuba instruction.
Next,
Anybody that wants to sign up.
next up is our child care update. And before Mr. Rhodes gives this, I think you missed a slide. Should be like a mic drop slide that you put on there because it's only 3 pages that you have here.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to present after Dr. Fry. It's hard to really compete with fun, chocolate, and sharks.
I know. What do you have for us?
I don't. I would like to say thank you. Thank you for staying for my presentation. I was under the illusion that others had stayed, but they left. And also to the sheriff's deputy, I appreciate you not leaving now that everyone's gone. So, with that being said, I'm glad I could bring some humor to the group. It is a child care update. I'm going to go through this quick for you. It's some good news for you. It's not sharks. It's not chocolate, but it is dollars. So the projections for May. Revenue, $76,634. Expenses, $54,808. An operational profit of projection of $21,825.22. I do want to give you some updated information about our Summer Plus program. I didn't add it to the slides. Just to let you know, right now we're running between 80 to 90 students each day.
In the May board meeting, we did talk about the board's wishes to be able to compensate our employees with the extra $10 an hour, just like we are being consistent across the board. Even though we are not available or allowed to use the ESSER funds, we are still using the child care funds to be able to do that. Our goal is to be revenue neutral at the end of the summer plus. We hope that that's going to be an option. If not, we won't have to tap into a lot of our reserves, hopefully, to be able to do so based on our projections. With that being said, Summer Plus is going well. We're happy to be able to increase the number of students that we initially thought we were going to be able to. The extra $10 an hour did help us get some extra employees. Not enough to be able to open up 2 sites, but yet we are able to help serve more students than we thought. And with that, I would take any questions you may have.
Are they getting to do fun stuff like summer school is?
You know, they are doing some really fun stuff. They are going on some field trips. And so they're doing things as well. They're going to the pool. They're doing things that are a lot of fun for those kids as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bernie, once again.
Ah. I mean, I'm just doing the sigh like you know. Come on, Bernie. Come back again.
I didn't do it this time. Oh. I like you.
I think she did that for your benefit.
Right, it was, right?
One report, and it's for May and not even June. So just to let you know, local current expense, other restricted funds, as of May 31st, our revenues still, as they were a month ago, are $30,796,000 because we were finished getting our county appropriation at that time, and our expenditures were at $23,382,000. As I said, that's the end of May.
So when we get to the end of June, you've got 97.7 here as the end of May 31st. So you got another month. What do you project that we're going to have as a surplus or as a deficit for the end of the year?
So as it looks right now, we are going to be close to $2 million.
Over.
Surplus.
Wow. Okay. Great report.
It's not chocolate, but we will take it.
Great report.
Did you know we have the finest finance officer in the state?
I absolutely know that.
Oh.
I do.
Yeah. And if I could speak on behalf of his team for a second, what happens in June?
Oh, it's y'all get hammered with all those checks getting sent out, and yes, thank you.
Our finance department didn't only just wrap a fiscal year, which is a magic trick in and of itself to do what they have to do, but to have to run the first set of summer school payroll in a completely different and unique way because of the way the state has legislated it, and for them to navigate all the differences for how that operates. I just always like to remind people, like, there's 3 people in our payroll department, you know, and what they're able to accomplish.
1,800 employees.
That's right. And so our finance department on a whole, extraordinary work that they do. So appreciate Mr. Socha's leadership of that group. But what they do should be celebrated because we all appreciate that when the check goes in the bank, that it goes in accurately and it goes in a timely fashion. And that just means the world to us. So appreciate your team's work on that.
They did a fabulous job.
I asked a question. The $2 million, which I think I was so excited to hear that we had a surplus. So the $2 million, why have we got that kind of surplus? Is it because we used some ESSER funds for things that we had already budgeted, and we're kind of banking this to help us through when those funds go away, or what's the plan here?
So, well, it was a combination of a lot of things. Some of it was ESSER related, as well as the other COVID dollars that we received earlier in the year that we very strategically used up first and allowed us to push local budgets into those other reserves, as well as there were just some things that we didn't do as much of this year.
True.
Which saved dollars as well. So it was kind of a combination of we saved some money as well as we were able to utilize other dollars instead of our local funding.
One of the main things when we were talking about this last year was use the Fed dollars first. Use them, and keep that local current back for whatever happens.
Exactly.
What was your question, Jay?
We'll have $2 million left. Put this in J terms I can understand. We have $2 million, and then what? That goes in the bank. That's less money to take from the commissioners.
15 trucks.
So are the commissioners when we?
That's fund balance.
So,
Yes.
so we're adding 2 million to fund balance. So when we go next budget time up to the commissioners, are they gonna be like, "Why you need all this money? You made 2 million last year."
Well, that'll be money in the bank, but our current budget for the 21-22 year, we have built with the intent that it will be spent in its entirety with what they are going to appropriate for us this year. We will, yes, have dollars in the bank, but that's going to be part of the whole ESSER conversation coming up as well as to how we're going to move forward in the 5 to 10 year range with those dollars.
I mean, this is great, but I'm just like,
Yeah, Mr. Egoff, we just have to keep in mind it wasn't a normal year.
It's a
as he was
federal
saying.
spigot
So
we're turning on.
there were federal dollars that offset costs, and then again we were using those very strategically. Our operational, we spend those dollars first, and then again, just as an example of some things were very different during a fully remote period, your buses aren't running, right? And so that is a significant cost savings when 111 school buses are not on the road. So when we presented a budget to the Board of Commissioners, it's during a normal operational year, every dollar being accounted for in that respect. And so that $2 million savings is the stewardship that we face, that when we recognize we're operating very differently, then we're going to spend those dollars or not spend those dollars, and then give the board the ability to utilize them in different ways.
And I think we're going to have some of those options through 2024 as well, because there's, the second set of ESSER dollars that are coming down the pipe are much larger than this first set that we're receiving. And so I do agree that we have to be careful 5-10 years down the road when those dollars are not there. And making sure that we're
Our
paying
appropriation
appropriate stewards.
is continuation, it's recurring funds, fund balance, one time. Once we spend it, it's gone.
Right.
So we
So
look
what-
at that very differently.
What, because I can't remember, we were strategically planning to build up fund balance more. What was the
$3.5
amount?
million, wasn't it?
So we're more than halfway there.
Well, we had 2 million already in the bank. We're adding another
We
2
will
million,
be
so
there
we're going to be
now.
about 4. So, and what was the range that we needed to be in? Because we decided it was 75%, I think. God, what was that number?
You're talking at the 7 to 10% number
7 to 10%
Yeah.
of your
fund
local
balance.
current expense. Yes, sir.
And
Yes.
so that came out to like 4 point. The high end was
It was going to be over 4 for the high end.
And
yes,
we
sir.
decided, hey, we've got 2 million, 3 million will make us a lot more comfortable. So
So we
we're
are there
comfortable.
now.
We're
Okay.
comfortable range.
Okay.
So, John, this ESSER fund coming from the federal government, it's not one of those you got to spend it or lose it.
Oh no, ma'am! It is
Yeah,
spend
you
it or
do.
lose it. It expired. They have kind of Cinderella dates. If the when each of those series of dollars expire at different times, and the end date right now is 2024 on the ESSER $3. So as we budget workshop and we talk about how we're using the ESSER 3 in the same way that we talked about ESSER 2, all those do have expiration dates. And so to the board's point, that's a very different position. This is not a forever and ever amen. We just have some resources right now that we can leverage differently.
I need some chocolate.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right, General Ops, Dr. Bryant, give us some dates and get
Yes,
us out of
sir.
here.
I will make it short. These are just dates that are reminders. The most important one on this list is the beginning one. We have 2 schools that are starting 4 students on July 8th. Of course, that'll be staggered start for our kindergarten students, but it's exciting to be back on a flex calendar. It's exciting for those schools to be able to get started. I know the parents and families are looking forward to that. We will provide some additional information as it relates to the board workshop based on the IHS direction that you gave to us. In August, early August, our administrators come together. We have a 2-day in-service, a bit of a retreat of sorts, professional learning and otherwise. We invite you to join us on the second day of that from 12 to 2 to be part of that, to have a brief audience with our school administrators and be present in that work. And so we hope you'll do that. Again, August 9th is our regularly scheduled meeting, if nothing changes statutorily before then.
And we usually get to follow Chris, so it's not that difficult
Yes,
for us,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir. It's exactly right. Folks are ready for
My
a second.
session is
yeah.
fun.
That's right.
It is.
Period.
Somewhere.
It's statutorily fun. right?
Statutorily fun.
You can meet us.
Been in your sessions.
Meet us at the bowling alley for the
Bernie,
legal
you and I need
update.
to-
Just
They keep
so-
me in line.
We lost all
Sometimes.
control. I'm sorry.
No,
I
that's
shouldn't
okay.
have started
That's
it.
okay. I'll just say on behalf of the leadership team and our school staff and our students, and certainly certainly the professionals that are recharging their batteries right now. Thank you for being such champions and advocates for doing the hard work, the courageous work, deliberating over very difficult things and moving forward. We're grateful to serve in this community. We talk about winning the lottery. For us, winning the lottery is serving here. That's what winning the lottery is for us. And so thank you for that chance. We appreciate it. That's all I have.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.